Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Reel Me In, a movie podcast, where you didn't really ask for it, but hey, I'm going to give it to you anyways. This is a podcast where I talk about anything, everything, and, well, anything about movies. I'm your host, Chase Lee, and hey, guys, listen. If you were searching on the internet for Donald Trump's next leaked video and you accidentally came across my podcast, well, I apologize. This is not what you're looking for, but hey, if you're a movie fan, well, hopefully I can convince you to be one. This is episode 150, guys. We are almost there to the 3-year point, 6 more weeks. So yeah, if you're new to the show, welcome once again. What we do on this show is I'll take a look at some of the movie news that dropped throughout the week, some trailers that dropped and discuss them, and of course the movies that come out each single weekend and review them for you as well. And I was supposed to do the box office results for the weekend, but I wanted to do this on a Saturday night because I was really excited to do this episode, and you guys don't really care about the box office anyway, so yeah, so it'll just be the movie reviews, and then we'll end it from there. But I am not alone, and so, I'm joined by someone who requested to not be in video form today because he said he's too sexy, and he didn't want to offend anyone, which I totally get. I understand. So, yeah, it's Joel. He is back once again. So, Joel, what's going on, man?
Oh, I'm good. I am way too sexy for the camera. I've broken all the cameras. I think that's why. I don't know.
Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous, Joel. You got to stop that shit. So, yeah,
hey,
Joel.
I want to congratulate you on almost reaching 3 years. That's a big anniversary. That's good stuff, man.
Isn't it crazy? Like people have been listening to me drone on the internet for 3 years, and they haven't had their ears bleed yet. Well, just yet. Yeah, Joel, do you know who my first guest ever was?
I don't, actually.
It was actually Jackson.
It was Jackson. Okay, I love Jackson. He's awesome.
Yeah, Jackson's my boy, man, and he's your boy as well. Like, he came on for the top 10 of 2013. That was the first one. Yeah, so thank you for referring to myself as old. So, yeah, on this week's episode, movie news, like I said, movie trailers. We will also have a special segment of separating the art from the artist. Then we're going to dive into our reviews. Me and Joel are going to be married on Birth of a Nation and review it together. Then we're going to divorce, and he's going to do 13th by himself, and I'm going to do the Girl on a Train by myself. So that's how the show is going to work. So yeah, without any further ado, let's jump into some movie news. Now, Joel, before you got on, there was actually some news that dropped, and I have to talk about this. I want to get your opinion on it. So, The Defenders is coming out on Netflix. It's going to be, the culmination of Daredevil, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, and they're going to have their own kind of like little Avengers type of content on Netflix. Now, the story that just dropped before we actually started recording is that Sigourney Weaver is going to be the villain in The Defenders, and I want to get Joel's take on this first. So, Joel, what do you think about that?
Well, I mean, it's good casting. I've watched a grand total of 2 episodes of like the collective series of these things. One of Daredevil, one of Jessica Jones, and I just haven't, continued. I don't really have time, honestly. But that is good casting. That's interesting. I gotta watch those shows now because she's great villain casting. I think that's really inspired. But yeah, that's sort of the extent. I don't watch these shows yet, so I'm gonna have to do that.
Yeah, no, I'm super stoked for this. Are you fucking kidding me? It's Sigourney Weaver, man. Like, bringing her to this series or movie or however they're going to do Defenders is genius casting, and I'm glad they're reaching out. I'm not saying that like Rosario Dawson isn't like well known. She's pretty well known, but Sigourney Weaver's more well known than that. And the fact that you're bringing her onto this entire like kind of little Marvel TV universe for Netflix is inspiring. I love that choice. I think she'll be a very great kind of contrast to a Fisk, and then the villain that Luke Cage has got going on right now, and Jessica Jones's. It's gonna be a nice little contrast and stuff. So yeah, I can't wait. But anyways, that broke literally 5 minutes ago. The first piece of news before we get into the superhero heavy news. Disney is on a roll with their live action films. Now, I haven't particularly liked all of them. Alice in Wonderland, it's whatever. Maleficent, it's whatever. Never saw Cinderella, but I heard that was the first actual good one. Beauty and the Beast is coming out very, very soon. Jungle Book happened this year, and I thought that one was pretty well done. So the news is that the live-action Mulan movie, which, this isn't like new or anything, this has been announced. It set a release date. It's coming out in November of 2018, which I think is a great release date. It comes out around like Thanksgiving, like that holiday feel and stuff. And Disney's really smart on dropping their content and their movies and whatnot around the holiday season to get the most bang for their bucks. So this doesn't surprise me one bit. But I haven't talked to Joel since this story actually dropped. I'm really excited for it. I think this is actually one of the few Disney properties that would really do well in live action form. It could be a really nice, sweeping, epic, and have a really strong female lead in the center of it. So yeah, I'm excited for it, and I think it has the most potential as a Disney film to go to live action out of everything they've done so far. But Joel, what about you? Do you think a live-action Mulan movie could work? And do you like the animated one?
Oh, I haven't seen the animated one in a long time, but it is one that I saw multiple times. Once in probably actually a couple times in theaters, to be honest. I am very excited for this, and I think that what they need to do is I think that they need to look a little bit outside. And I'm actually looking up the name of the person right now, but I think that for the this is kind of getting into inside baseball a little bit, but for the cinematographer, I think that they need to go with. Hold on, sorry, I'm working on my phone here. I'm gonna look up. Whoops. Damn it. Give me a second. It's the cinematographer of House of Flying Daggers from back in 2004, Zhao Zhao. I think that they need to look a little bit outside because that's a person who has approached this kind of material very, obviously kind of steeped in Chinese or Japanese. I can't remember which. I guess Chinese imagery. I think that they need to go all out with this. Get somebody like that to shoot the film because he did an amazing job with House of Flying Daggers. I think that they need to get Katie Leung to play Mulan. Katie Leung played Cho Chang in the Harry Potter series. I think that she needs a big break because she's a really, really big talent and hasn't really been used for anything since then. And anyway, I'm very excited for this. And I think, though, that they need to kind of reconfigure the release date because I feel like is there a Marvel movie that month?
In 2018, I believe it. No, because for next year, well, yeah, in 2018 you have Black Panther in like February, then you have Infinity War Part 1 in like I want to say May, and I believe the one after that is Captain Marvel, but she comes out in July. So I don't think there is one, but I could be wrong.
Okay, because if there is one, they're also going to have Fantastic the second one that month.
That's right.
And so I feel like let's see. I'm just kind of looking through here at the list of upcoming movies. Sorry guys, bear with me. Okay, so there's really not. Okay, so I guess that's kind of the perfect time. I think the first weekend would work. The first weekend of November. I don't know if they've actually had a date yet, but yeah, it's a great release. It's a great release date. It's kind of perfect for their what they're going for. They haven't really released any of these in the summer, and which is interesting. And so, which I don't really consider Alice in Wonderland to be the beginning of that because that was not really Alice in Wonderland. That was a very different thing. And then I think that Maleficent was kind of a reworking. But now you have, with Cinderella, which was good, and then with Jungle Book. and with uh, this man, my mind just went blank all of a sudden. Beauty and the Beast next year. It looks like to be kind of straight live action reimaginings. And so I feel like they've been on a roll with those. They've just gotten better, I think. And so yeah, I'm very excited to see what they pull off with Mulan. It's a very it's a very complex kind of. It's not a lot of silly stuff. There's a lot of, except for of course Eddie Murphy's character.
Mushu.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
It's going to be cool to see how they bring him to life if they include. I'm assuming they're going to include him.
They have to.
And I'd love to see Eddie Murphy come back. I'm sure that he would. He's come back like 7 times as Donkey, so I feel like they could get him back. That would be fun, and to see him updated with modern tech, the live action against or animation against live action kind of technology. That could be really, really enjoyable to see. And got this really strong heroine. Especially in this current cultural conversation about strong heroines, it's great that they'll be bringing this into life, especially after we had Cinderella and now Belle's coming up, and they need to get another Harry Potter person to play in these. They just need to give like a bunch of roles to Harry Potter actors, honestly. But I really think Katie Leung is kind of perfect. She's already had a history with a very popular franchise. People recognize her, and yeah, I'm very excited. This is my favorite piece of news that we got this week. Hearing about this.
Yeah, so. No, it's very interesting to see how they're kind of just moving forward with their live action stuff. And speaking of that, I forgot to put this on the list. We're gonna move on to the next thing, but it still ties into what we're talking about. Joel, I completely forgot to put that Jon Favreau said he's doing The Lion King next, and
yeah,
as we were talking about that, I was like, I can't believe I fucking forgot that. So just real quick on that, and then we'll move on. I don't know how they're gonna do it in terms of. Oh, I mean, I know how they're gonna do it. That's a stupid question, but how they're gonna do it in terms of having it like a pure CGI. Freak fest, because these animals are going to look so realistic, it's going to be fucking weird, and there's no humans in there. So if they use the technology that they did for the Jungle Book and apply it to the Lion King, it can be very successful in the visual effects department. I just don't know how it's going to bode well with audiences when there is no human character, any live action piece. It's going to be all CGI.
They should essentially just say, and I feel like they're probably going to use motion capture to some degree in this.
Probably, yeah.
That's kind of the wave of the future right now, because of how much it's come along. I feel like they should just come out and say, this is going to be kind of Polar Express, Beowulf, kind of that arena, because it's already going to be that. It would be such a useless use of real locations if they decided to use any. And I've been sort of I liked the idea of this, because Lion King is great, and I like the idea of this, but I have to wonder what the point is if you have, like you're saying, if you have a cast of only animals and you're having to basically reanimate them to be CGI. Why not just make an updated, ultra realistic CGI animation movie about it? Not claim that it's some live action take.
Yeah.
And because it's really not going to be, unless they like shoehorn in actors, human people into the narrative, which I don't think they do if they're going to take a traditional reimagining approach. I don't think that's going to happen. And anyway, it's interesting. I'm looking forward to it on the basis of the fact that I love the Jungle Book. I thought that it was a great rendition of that story, and I like The Lion King even more than the Jungle Book, in terms of the original animated movies. And so I'm interested to see how it turns out. But man, I really do have a lot of doubts.
Yeah,
Really do.
it's one of those things where it's like you said, it's a good idea. Like, kind of, it's a really epic story. It could bode very well on the big screen, especially with the effects that we saw from the Jungle Book. But I'm just wondering how it's going to be received by people. So yeah, we'll have to wait and find out. But it probably won't happen for a while because shit, it's
Yeah,
probably it's going to be at least 2
2019.
years before that bitch comes out. So yeah, so Lion King, directed by Jon Favreau, coming soon-ish, probably before the end of whoever's in the White House. So yeah, so the next piece of news, this one I'm really excited about. So Wolverine 3 is going to come out next year in March, and supposedly it's going to be Hugh Jackman's last turn as the Claude hero that we all love and whatnot. And I had no idea what it was going to be called. If it was going to be called Wolverine 3 for the Wolverine or whatever. It was kind of in speculation what the last time Hugh Jackman, what his last role would be called and stuff. And so Fox released that the movie is going to be called Logan. Now, simply put, that is his name. So they didn't put X-Men anywhere, like X-Men Presents, or they didn't put Wolverine anywhere on the title. It's just simply Logan. Now, this tells me two things. One, 20th Century Fox has got a lot of fucking balls to put just Logan on this poster, especially since it's going to be rated R. And that's going to restrict some of your audience or whatever, your core audience that goes to see these movies. So the fact that it's going to be rated R and they're calling it Logan, I really hope this doesn't hurt it, but I don't think it will, just because Hugh Jackman has embodied this character for the past 16 years, and he has made it into his own. And so the fact that you're calling it Logan, and this tells me the second thing, is that they're going to really focus on the character at hand and not really the mutant with all these powers and stuff. We're going to see a broken, fragile man who is getting older, and his powers are depleting when he, when he gets hurt or when he gets hit. His recovery time is actually slowing down because he is aging as well. So we're going to really kind of focus on the character in its entirety and at its core. That makes me super excited. The poster that was released is Wolverine's hand with his claws, coming out of his knuckles, and there's a little girl's hand wrapped around his hand, and that tells me that it's probably going to be X-23. She's probably going to be the one to carry the mantle after Hugh Jackman is gone. I don't know if Wolverine's going to die in this one. It'd be kind of cool if he did. It'd be a nice little send-off. Patrick Stewart is also in this, and Professor X, according to the synopsis, he's aging very fast too, so he's starting to acquire Joel, what was dementia or Alzheimer's? He's getting something, and it's actually affecting his cerebral powers. So I'm really excited for the fact that it's called Logan. It's super risky, but I think with the brand of X-Men and Hugh Jackman in general, I think it'll be fine. But that was just a small little kind of hesitation. But other than that, love it. So Joel, what you got?
I think it's a pretty ballsy move to call it Logan, but I kind of agree with everything you said. And another thing is that the poster is my favorite part of this because it's very, very, very obviously modeled after Schindler's List's poster. And because it'll just look it up if you want to right now. I mean, it's exactly the same thing, just has knives coming out of his knuckles. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one turns out. I'm glad that they didn't call it the Wolverine 3 because there were confused people wondering where the Wolverine 2 went. You had the last movie was called The Wolverine, and so
Yeah.
if you get the number, that would be weird. But yeah, I mean, I am kind of excited. Although I have to say, it will be interesting if eventually they just kind of subtly add on the posters X-Men : Logan underneath it. Although obviously to me, what matters is the title card in the movie. If this first poster is indicative of what they want to call the movie, it could be that it is called Logan, and then the later attempts, if they do them, to sort of shove X-Men as a surtitle, that'll be again, this kind of lack of communication between the marketing department and the person making the title card in the actual movie. And I consider the title card more accurate.
Yeah.
Because obviously they have an in with the person that is doing this. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I commend Jackman for stepping down. I mean, the guy has given us almost 2 decades worth of this character, so it's sad, but I am really excited to see his last kind of going out in style with a hard R and just being true to the character and just keeping it real, man, keeping it real. So it gets me excited. So, and the last piece of news, guys, the superhero news just keeps running away. Okay, so the news is, before I get into my little rant / frustration with Warner Brothers, Suicide Squad is going to have an extended cut home release on their DVDs and Blu-rays and whatnot. That's all fine and dandy. That's the news. But here's the fucking problem. Now, I am one of these sad bastards on the internet that will back up Man of Steel any day of the week and say it's the best Superman interpretation that we've had on the big screen. You want to fight me? Go ahead. I've been doing it for 3 years. Second, Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. I did not care for the theatrical edition. It's fine, but I love the Ultimate Cut. So it completely just changed everything around for me, and I bought into it because 30 extra minutes is a lot of footage to put in. I was excited to see how they were going to stretch out the plot holes that they obviously missed and whatnot, so I love the Ultimate Cut. However, I said this when I bought the Ultimate Cut to my coworker who came with me to Walmart or Best Buy that day, and we got it. I said, dude, if Suicide Squad does this, I will be so fucking angry, because that tells me that Warner Brothers will release the crappy chopped up version in theaters, and then they will release a extended cut with more scenes and more footage, yarkety yark yark fuck. So I was like, there's no way they're gonna do that. Then after Suicide Squad comes out, Warner Brothers goes, we're not gonna release any more cuts, this is it. And I was like, okay, this will be the first superhero movie I won't buy this year because I didn't really care for it in theaters. And then, yesterday, Warner Brothers decides to release a little trailer. So I'm like, oh, okay, what is this? I click on it, and it's Suicide Squad extended fucking cut on Blu-ray. What the fuck, Warner Brothers? I just want to say this, and I'll turn it over to Joel. I am not going to buy this extended cut. You will not rope me in because I did not care for Suicide Squad. Now, if I actually liked the movie, I'd be a little bit more curious and sure. But I am tired of you swindling people, and I know I'm going to sound like a hypocrite because I'm going to buy it either way, but you need to stop doing that. If you're going to have a version of your movie that is longer, and that's what you came out with, and it actually is pretty good, you need to trust your gut instinct and release it. I think if they would have released that 3-hour-long cut of BVS, it wouldn't have gotten trashed as much as it did. Now, does it fix some of the major problems? No, it does not. But that stuff didn't really bother me because that extra 30 minutes actually smoothed out and paved out some of the stuff that was kind of bothering me. And so the other stuff didn't really take it down a grade for me that much. So I really hope in the future Warner Bros. Does not continue to do this, and Wonder Woman comes out 3 months later. Oh my God, there's an ultimate extended fuck cut. Here we go, guys. There's 40 extra minutes. Or if like Justice League comes out, and then they're like, oh my God, guys, on Blu-ray, Justice League Part 1 and Part 2, there was enough footage to create an extra movie. It's like, God damn it, Warner Bros. What the fuck are you doing? So please just release the best version you can. I am not in favor of this. I will not buy it, but that's just because I didn't care for Suicide Squad in general. So, yeah, that's my thoughts. Warner Brothers, please watch yourself because people notice. Joel, what do you make about this whole thing? Do you think that Warner Brothers will continue to do this as a trend, and will you be picking up that extended cut, which I think has like 13 extra minutes?
Okay, so I helped you review, I should say,
That's
Suicide
true. I
Squad
forgot about that.
on the show. Yeah, and I hate that movie, but I'm gonna buy the new one.
Oh fuck, Joel! Don't give it. Don't give in. What are you doing?
So here's the thing. I'm generally in the business of buying and rewatching superhero movies, just
That's true. That's actually on Joel's business card.
pretty much. And I mean, I just do it. I like to, I bought and rewatched Civil War recently, and
Yeah.
I'm going to do the same for Apocalypse, I'm sure. But uh, I am gonna give it its time to see if the extra 13 minutes changes anything. Now, you know, I kind of very infamously said earlier this year that the Ultimate Edition cut for Batman vs Superman actually made the theatrical cut, to me, not very good, and I liked it in theaters.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
and then the Ultimate Edition cut kind of retroactively made it almost completely worthless. It's so bad. So I'm interested to see if 13 minutes of Suicide Squad could change anything. I honestly doubt it because there were such fundamental issues with the theatrical cut, many more than Batman v Superman ever had. And so I'm interested to see what they did. But here's the thing. I'm gonna put it like a friend of mine put it. Uh, I bet they're already planning both versions of Wonder Woman. Like it's getting to that point where you have to wonder if they're doing it. If they're just like, okay, let's make a movie. Let's make it really good, and then we're gonna just edit the movie to shreds, and then we're gonna release the dumb version to dumb, stupid audiences that we have contempt for, and then we'll force them to spend money in theaters to see it, and then we'll force them to become so curious that we'll make them pay $25 for the DVD that's longer and better than the movie that we released. So honestly, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Suicide Squad, the extended cut, is better than the original cut. But like, what gives? Why not release the movie that you're proud of? Maybe I don't know. Maybe they're not proud of it. They didn't call it Suicide Squad: The Ultimate Edition.
It's not ultimate enough.
I mean, that's what they called Batman v Superman because they were super proud of it. It was over 3 hours. Is kind of this big, you know, groundbreaker for superhero movies. But I mean, they can't keep getting away with this. People are gonna lose interest in seeing them in theaters, and then
Yep.
they're gonna lose interest in buying them for home video. It's gonna happen. They're gonna be like, okay, why? Because this is what happens. They become disfranchised with the whole idea of the extended cut after becoming disfranchised with the idea of the theatrical cut being the unofficial one that they're releasing into theaters. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, it's just kind of annoying because, like you said, I think people are going to start to catch on, and they're going to be like, "Well, I'll wait for the ultimate extended, rad, super cool cut that's going to come out in 3 fucking months." So, yeah. But wait a minute, Joel. Can we backtrack for a second? Did you say you did not like the ultimate edition of BVS?
No. Okay, so I liked it so much. I think it's actually probably number one or number two on my list of
Oh,
uh,
okay.
super.
I guess I heard
But
that wrong. I thought I heard the ultimate cut was
no,
far
retroactive.
inferior to the original. I thought that's what I heard.
Oh no. It made the theatrical cut like retroactively kind of made it almost worthless
Oh
because it
yeah, yeah. No, I totally agree. If you buy
because
that Ultimate
failed.
Edition,
They cut out so many subplots.
yeah,
It's just amazing, and that's what makes me think that there's not much difference to Suicide Squad
I
because there's
agree.
only 13 minutes, and so you think that I mean, there's got to be not like an entire subplot in 13 minutes, can there? So not so many like transformative elements seem to be able to fit in that. And so anyway, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah,
But I am going to buy it. I'm again, in the interest of collecting these superhero franchises on Blu-ray, and so I'll be interested to see it, and it really is like not even remotely dependent on quality. I will buy this one. So
Yeah, this is the first one this year where I'm just not going to buy it. I got Deadpool, Civil War, BVS.
I need Deadpool actually. I haven't bought Deadpool yet, but that's the one. What I gotta do is I gotta buy that and Apocalypse. Those are the two that I need to buy. Of course, Apocalypse just came out, but I really do need to buy Deadpool.
Yeah, no, it's great rewatchability, but like I told myself if I at least like a superhero movie, I'm going to buy it for sure. Suicide Squad, I saw it twice, and it was just one of those things where like I gave enough money to it. I do not need to see it again, even with an extended cut. So yeah, so that is it for the news, guys. So what was your favorite news story that dropped this week? Comment in the place with my face and let me know. Now moving on to the trailer section, Joel, we have 11 of them, so let's not spend too much time on this section because we still got a lot more to talk about, sir. So yeah, so since we have 11, let's not waste any time. Let's start with some of the smaller ones first, and we'll work our way up to the bigger ones. Joel actually sent me this one today, Things to Come. Joel, would you like to describe to the people out there what this movie is about? Because I recently just saw the trailer a couple of hours ago, so you probably have a better understanding of the story.
I actually just saw it a couple hours ago too. I noticed it on Facebook. Somebody the little Incepta board thing on the top right of Facebook. Somebody liked the trailer. I was like, what? A trailer came out. But basically, it stars Isabelle Huppert as a woman whose husband has just kind of decided to move out on her, and so the movie. I'm just going to kind of make this short, but so the movie seems to be tracking sort of the consequences of that for her, and it will focus on her. I've been hearing amazing things about Huppert's performance. It's one of her 2 movies this fall that are coming out, assuming that Things to Come comes out this year. It might be something like early next year, but the other one is Aya or L or however you say it, and they both look really good. But this looks like the quieter movie. It's from a director named Mia Hansen-Løve. I don't know how you say the little O with a line through it, but anyway, it looks really quiet, sort of a 45 Years-esque kind of feel to me about kind of secrets in marriage kind of coming out, having unexpected repercussions, and it just kind of looks like one of those small little gems that is going to barely release and then everybody sees it on iTunes later. But it looks really, really good, and I know that Huppert's kind of a dark horse for both of these movies for the Oscar. People are wondering, 2 movies this strong, you have to wonder, is it possible that both or one of those performances could get into a really packed actress category at the Oscars, and it looks terrific.
Yeah, I totally agree with you in terms of it looks like 45 years, because I saw that one in January of this year, and I thought it was just a really well done, quiet little film with Charlotte Rampling, and she was fucking awesome in that movie.
I had excuse me, I had posted my top 10 of all time. No, my top 10 of 2015 before I saw the movie, and if I had seen the movie first, because that stuff like that happens, then it would have been my number 2 or 3. It was that good, and this seems to be in sort of that category. So I'm really, really excited to see this.
Yeah, but I have to disagree with you in terms of it being similar to it because about the secrets in marriage. The beginning of the trailer, the husband's like, "I'm leaving you. I found someone. I moved in with her." Like, there was definitely no secrets. It was like straight up like, "Yo, bitch, I'm leaving." But yeah, no, it looks really good. It looks like a film about someone that's going to find herself in the middle of her life and stuff. So it looks really good, and you know what? I'm a sucker for trailers that have critic quotes and 4 stars plastered all over the goddamn place. So I'm totally down. The next trailer I want to talk about. We're going to talk about the 2 that dropped today. Let's start with John Wick 2. Now, New York Comic Con is going on right now. So all these trailers were dropping like left and right before me and Joel started recording and stuff. So we're like, well, we have to talk about it. So for John Wick 2, it's just like a 1.5-minute teaser, and it basically shows us joining the Avengers again with John Wick, the awesome assassin who's just kicking a lot of ass. And I'm excited for it. I never thought in a million years like I would be excited for a John Wick sequel. I had no idea what to expect with the first one. I saw it, loved it, kicked a lot of ass. I love the fact that it was directed by a couple of stunt coordinators, and the fact that the action felt so grounded and just really gritty and just in your face and bone crunching, and stylistic to a point where it felt fresh for what we were seeing on screen and whatnot. I'm excited to see that come into play for Chapter 2. I'm just excited for it all around. It's just a really fun assassination flick. So, Joel, what did you think of the first one? Are you excited for the sequel?
I thought the first one was fine. That was a movie. It was a strange case where there was a lot of praise for that, and it was a fun movie. I kind of found the praise a bit overwhelming. It's stylish. It's a lot of fun, but I found Keanu Reeves to be better than the movie, if that makes sense. But it was fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing another one. And like you, I can't believe I'm saying that. It really does look fun. So I'm excited. Not much to say on my end though. I will admit, like I just did, just kind of found the first one just a little bit overpraised, not overrated. I hate using that term. I just found it very simple, kind of a simple pleasures kind of thing, and it was fun, and I think that they have room to improve on it. So I'm looking forward to it. It's a weird release date for that, but February kind of doesn't seem a typical release date for this, but we shall see how it holds up.
Breaking news: Joel has just left the episode for today. You know what's really interesting? What you bring up about the release date is that it's being released in February, which is going to kind of go up head to head, I think, really close to or on the same weekend as 50 Shades of Darker. And when 50 Shades came out, Kingsman also came out. So it's great counter programming. And I think it's going to do very, very well. And hey, listen, as much as I think Keanu, I think he's a very serviceable actor in the right role. Dude, women love him. Like, I'll guarantee you that more women would be excited for John Wick Chapter 2 than 50 Shades, Darker Dildo, whatever the hell it's called. So, yeah, so I'm sure...
That is
what?
That is the name.
The Darker Dildo, yeah. You coined it here, folks. It's a Real Me In exclusive copyright and treatment. So, yeah, so, it is what it is. All right, so the second trailer that dropped at New York Comic Con, me and Joel are in the right age group for this, so it's going to be really interesting to talk about this as, people in their, 20s and whatnot grew up with it. But the Power Rangers movie is coming out next year in 2017, I believe in March. And the teaser trailer was released. Now, it doesn't show much. It shows the kids in high school right before they get their powers. They show a little bit of the powers, and then they cut it right before the suits start forming on Jason, the Red member. Now, I grew up, and so did Joel. We grew up with the very cheesy, over-the-top Power Rangers television show, and we also grew up in the era of when the movie came out, and Ivan Ooze was the villain and whatnot. For me personally, Power Ranger it was very fun and watchable as a kid. I enjoyed it. I looked forward to it every single time. But let's face facts, folks. It is a terrible show. It is, cheesy beyond belief. However, I hate when I say this because I will sound like a hypocrite in the future. but nostalgia does play a little bit into this, and but I gotta admit, the teaser trailer wasn't bad. It was definitely better than what I thought it'd be. I'm not like jumping up and down for it, but I do like the kind of like fun overall kind of chronicle tone that they're going for. I kind of dug that, and that's what this franchise needs, so it doesn't revert back to its old cheesy self. It's going to be a very fun movie for kids, and hopefully it's going to have some great entertainment value for maybe teenagers, and for us, stupid mid-20s nostalgia creepos. We're going to go see it, and hopefully we'll get some enjoyment out of it. I will eventually see it, but I'm not like rushing out to see it. However, this teaser, it's not the worst thing in the world. It's serviceable, and I just hope for the future marketing and the trailers and stuff they don't release too much, because this teaser I think was pretty good for what it was trying to set up. It gave you the right amount of just a little taste of that Power Rangers. So for me personally, yeah, it wasn't bad. So Joel, what have you in? Do you remember watching Power Rangers like I did growing up?
Oh yeah, I actually met one.
Shit, son.
Yeah, so he was from this area. I think it was in the original order, if you will, of Power Rangers. I think it was the Black Ranger, the black suited Ranger.
Oh, Zach? Is that his name?
I believe so. I believe
Yeah.
Zach. I'm pretty sure he's from this area, and a cousin of his was in was one of the was a track runner person like my brother, and so they were at meets and stuff, and I got to meet him. I was really young, and so that was pretty cool. I did watch very, very faithfully. I was
Did you notice how Joel said very faithfully?
very, very faithfully. I was obsessed. I had a Power Rangers sword. I had Power Rangers outfits. I really liked the show. I liked the movie as a kid. I haven't seen the movie since then, but I'm actually gonna revisit the movie. I'm gonna seek out the movie. I understand that it's apparently fairly hard to find, but I'm gonna seek out the movie and try to find it again if I can. I'm gonna revisit it as an adult, see what the deal is, because I haven't watched any episodes at all since I was like maybe 6. So it's gonna be interesting to see what is gonna be called a dark and gritty updating. Honestly, though, the trailer was not promising. I think this looks pretty mediocre. The only thing that I am really, really interested about is Bryan Cranston, because he's sort of revisiting his old character. I forget the name, but
Zordon.
Zordon. I knew it started with a Z. And so that's going to be interesting to see, but I don't know. It doesn't look all that promising to me. Interesting casting though three of the Power Rangers. I don't think we've ever seen them, but 2 of them. There's one is Earl from Me and Earl and the Dying Girl.
Oh yeah.
R.J. Kyler's the Blue Ranger, and then Becky G, who is the pop artist, sings that song "Shower." She's the Yellow Ranger, so that's going to be interesting to see. I'm looking forward to seeing where that cast goes from there. If this turns into a franchise, or if they kind of join other franchises from there. It'll be interesting to see how it turns out. But I mean, really, the only interesting thing after that trailer is seeing Bryan Cranston in the next one. I assume they're going to show him at some point in the trailer. So
they have to.
Yeah, they have to show him, and I'm looking forward to that. But man, I don't know. It just kind of, the whole high school vibe didn't really, like, I liked Chronicle, and I get what you're saying, but it just kind of felt like it was trying too hard, which doesn't really surprise me, because the director is Dean Israelite, who previously directed Project Almanac from last year, and that movie was definitely trying to be Chronicle, right down to the footage, the video footage thing. So, but again, like I said this on Facebook, I don't even care how grossly nostalgic this sounds to current millennials, but I owe it to my childhood to see this.
That is one of the saddest things I've ever heard, but that's okay. I know I'm totally with you, man, because like I said, you and I grew up in the same era, you know. So Power Rangers was it. That was the one that was on TV and stuff. Like I remember it was like a mix of like Nickelodeon shows and Power Rangers. Like that was it.
For me, it was Power Rangers, and I watched a couple of Nickelodeon shows, but I think it was mostly Power Rangers. And then I moved to Pokemon and Digimon at the same time. I was sort of at the same time, I guess. And then I moved on to Harry Potter, and I haven't looked back. But yeah, pre Harry Potter, it was Pokemon and Digimon, and pre Pokemon and Digimon, you know. And actually, honestly, like if they were to do like a live action Pokemon, I would say the same thing. I owe it to my childhood to see those, because it's just such a crucial part of my childhood that I want to revisit that, you know.
Yeah, and, no, I totally get you, man. So yeah, but it, you know, to Joel it looks mediocre. For me, it's like it's not that bad. Well, I guess I'm on the same level as him. I'm just not using the word mediocre. Yeah, so that's it for that trailer. So let's move on to.
I will bring up a couple trailers. You did the two that dropped today. I'm gonna go ahead and combine a couple.
Okay. I know where Joel's going with this. So yes. Take it away.
So these are both horror action franchises set probably to metal music that come out in January and that are big money makers, both from Sony. And I didn't even realize that until today. I had no idea from Sony. Like I don't know how that took me so long, but it makes sense, I guess. So the first one is Resident Evil: The Final Chapter. This has had a trailer before. The first trailer was awesome, set to Paradise City, but this, you know, is more of the traditional kind of actually imparting plot instead of just images. I still think it looks awesome. This is a series that I'm beginning to warm up to. I originally, you know, I saw it at a time where I was just kind of a different sort of viewer. I had a very, because of, a lot of it was because of Roger Ebert's review of the first one. I, you know, had been reading that for years and years, and I had this idea, you know, oh, well, when I see it, I hate it. I'm going to hate it, and I did. And I hated all the series, and then now I'm a different kind of moviegoer. I like this kind of earnest, very, you know, fun trash kind of thing. So I rewatched the first movie last summer, and or well, this summer, but last summer, and I really liked it. So I'm looking forward to revisiting the rest of the series. I bought it on Blu-ray just recently, and I'm going to be doing the revisiting process. I think that this new movie looks really fun. Nice little bow out to the franchise. I'm aware that I'm probably alone on that, unless of course I do revisit further and I don't like the other movies. Then I'll obviously own up to that. But nevertheless, right now I'm looking forward to this final chapter. The other one is Underworld 28. This is a series that I'm pretty decisively not a fan of. I remember it very well. I don't have to revisit them to know that I don't like them. I've always found them to be visually ugly. This one looks no different. It looks completely it looks awful. Awful. And probably my least favorite trailer, actually, of the ones that we're going to be talking about, because of just how jumbled it seems. This series has never made any sense. They keep, you know, endless exposition about lichens and humans and rebellions and Michael Sheen wasting his time in these things. I don't know if he's in this one, but I don't even know at this point. I can't remember anything about the last movie, but I did see them all, and I'll probably see this one because it's the first wide release of the year, and I've kind of made an agreement with myself that I'm going to see the first release of the year. And so I'll probably see it and review it, but I mean, man, this just does not look good. I'm really hoping that this is the last one. I haven't heard anything about that yet, but I'm hoping that this is the last one, that they just kind of, you know, like, they just say, okay, let's give people some relief here.
Yeah, I mean, hell, Joel, don't you remember Underworld 26 and 27? So, yeah, for me personally,
my favorite.
Yeah, For me personally, I'm not a big fan of the Resident Evil movies. I worked at the theater when Afterlife came out, and the fifth one, I forgot what that one was called, but whatever, fuck it. I watched them, and they're whatever. They're throwaway movies. If you want to go burn some time and you don't feel like staring at a wall or going through the aisles of like a Home Depot or a Walmart, and you want to spend your time more wisely, then sure, yeah, go ahead. I'm not going to stop you. But believe it or not, I actually thought this trailer for the seventh one looked pretty good. It looks just crazy, balls out fun, and it looks like it could be somewhat interesting as the final chapter, as it so proclaims and whatnot. So, yeah, sure, whatever. Underworld, don't give a shit. So that will be it for those trailers. All right, so let's talk about a movie that came out of nowhere, but I am so fascinated by. Now, this one's called The Monster. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, oh, Jesus, what kind of fucking title is that? How vague can you be? Hey, Joel, you want to go create the desk? I mean, it sounds, very generic and stuff. However, I played the trailer because A24 is releasing it, so I was like, okay, A24, what you got, babe? So I call it babe. I call A24 babe. All right. So I played the trailer, watched it, and I was like, Jesus Christ. Where the hell did this movie come from? It looks fucking awesome. So essentially, the trailer, a couple gets stranded out in the middle of the woods on a road, and they get terrorized by a monster. Seems like that's what the plot is. It's going to be in one location. From what I can gather, probably some flashbacks, which makes sense because the director is the director of The Strangers, which is a very awesome, creepy, kind of realistic look at home invasions and whatnot. This one with Liv Tyler. And that also was in one location, but also had some flashbacks and whatnot to show the couple and whatnot. It kind of looks like this is the route it's going to go for this one, but I love the tone of it. I love the vibe. It was very creepy, very suspenseful, and that fucking ending shot. Guys, I'm a huge fan of when a character is in the forefront in focus, and there's something in the background out of focus. I think that is one of the creepiest uses of cinematography out there. Hence why one of my favorite shots of the entire fucking year is when Patrick Wilson in The Conjuring 2 was talking, and you had the fucking little girl being possessed by the demon behind him, all out of focus, but what was happening and what was being said was super creepy and just gets under your skin. And I think this one will do just that. It's going to be creepy, get under your skin, and the fact that A24 is releasing it gives me a lot of fucking hope. So, Joel, did you like The Strangers, and what did you think of this trailer?
I'm one of the seeming few. I actually haven't read very many reviews of The Strangers, and I don't remember what the critical reception is like. But I feel like I'm one of the few who don't really like that movie. I think it's creepy for a while, and then the ending kind of ruins it for me. It's one of the few instances where the last few minutes really just completely trashed the movie. I don't like how it ended, but this movie, the trailer is weirdly edited to me, but it looks really good. I'm not saying the movie doesn't look good. I just find the trailer to be very choppy. I did like that last shot, and I'm like you. I like those types of shots. The thing you're talking about in The Conjuring 2 is one of my favorite movie moments of the year.
Yes.
And it's especially great because of the fact that we can still see what happens in the background of that
but
shot.
Not really. Like, it's cool. It's like we can see it, but not really.
Right. And so, and I really like that. The monster here looks very, very unique. And I like how they build to the fact that there's something weird going on by the tooth that they find. That kind of sent chills up my spine, actually. So I'm very interested to see. This movie came out of nowhere, and I think it's opening. Isn't it opening like next week or something?
It's like very, very soon. Like, let me look it up as you're talking.
Okay, yeah, but and it's Zoe Kazan, who I think is one of the big talents right now, especially after What If and Ruby Sparks. I think she's a terrific talent. I'm very excited to see her turn as a scream queen. I'm super excited, and I love A24. They make up two of my top three at this point, and two of my top five, I should say. I love what they offer, uh, and so yeah. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Somebody's give me 1 second. Give me 1 second.
Oh my god. I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, the monster looks really good, and I've always been really excited to kind of see, uh, Brian something. I'm looking. Trust me,
Hey
guys.
Chase,
This
Chase,
one.
I'm gonna just be right back. You
Okay.
keep talking.
Yeah. So I've always been really fascinated as to what Brian Bertino, that is his name. I've always been really curious to see what he was going to do next. And because I really love The Strangers, it left me so uneasy when I saw it. And I remember going home and I was like fucking terrified of these like freaks in masks are gonna run around and stuff. But now we got the actual live version happening with that with the fucking clowns and shit. But yeah, no, the poster looks really cool. The trailer looks really cool. And since I pulled it up, if my internet will cooperate, I can tell Joel and the people listening out there when it's coming out. Oh my god. Okay, so it's not really acting up, but I think it is, like you said, coming out very soon. I know it comes out in October sometime, so it's probably going to be either the third week or the last week. So, yeah, so that's it for that trailer. Now, let's talk about a trailer that me and Joel differ on, because I don't know what the hell he's smoking, but hey, Joel, give it to me, and maybe I can switch over to your side. It's the Sleepless trailer with Jamie Foxx. Plays a cop, shit goes down, stuff happens. There you go. I don't know. I told Joel this. It looks very bland. It just looks like every generic cop action movie that you can think of. It looked like they were throwing all the cliches at us just in the trailer. I don't know. I didn't really care for it. It's probably my least favorite of the entire bunch that we're talking about. Joel, would you please spend some knowledge on me and the people listening? Why do you hate life? Why do you hate puppies? And why do you like this movie so much? Why? Just why?
Okay, well, first, before I move on to that, I did look it up, and the monster comes out in limited release on November 11th.
Okay.
So that'll be interesting. But apparently, it's available on the internet. I'm assuming, like, I think it's the DirecTV thing, so it may be on there. Although I don't know. But anyway, so moving on to Sleepless. Okay, I mean, okay, fine, cliches. It doesn't look all that different from your regular cop movie. But here's the thing: I think it looks like it has style. It looks like something that Michael Mann might have made, and it looks like it's maybe not studying the same things that he might have studied in his movies, and he does study stuff through his narratives and all that, like in Miami Vice and Public Enemies and all that. But and Collateral. This looks to be in sort of the same vein as Collateral, kind of shadowy kind of dealings in the nighttime with crooked cops. A great cast: Jamie Foxx, Tip Harris, who's known as T.I., Tip Harris, Michelle Monaghan. I think it looks really, really stylish and like a lot of fun. And so yeah, I'm smoking the stuff. I'm smoking the right stuff. You're smoking the wrong stuff. You're smoking.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Thank you for that. Oh, that's all. That was your diss. That's all you're gonna say. Okay, fine. Okay, fine, Joel. That's okay. Joel likes to serve the dish, and he likes to drop the mic and walk the fuck away. Get on the plane and drive or fly away. So, yeah, just not for me. So yeah, moving on to the last trailer I want to talk about before we get to the three good ones, in my opinion. Pirates 5. Now, the first one comes out, I believe I was in 8th grade, freshman in high school, and I thought it was fun. I thought it was interesting how you make a fucking movie out of a ride, but hey, I guess crazier things are done. Just look who's running for president. So, it's like, it's one of those things where the first one's fine. Second one, it's whatever. Third one is whatever. Don't really care for the fourth one, so I'm not really looking forward to the fifth one. However, this fifth one, Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man Tell No Tales, I like the teaser. I thought it looked really cool. I love the atmosphere. I love the cinematography of it. It looks like it's going to be way darker than the other 4, which is fucking awesome. I realize Disney's got to impress their shareholders, but come on, Disney, take some risk every now and then. It's okay. It's okay. I'll pat you on the back. I'll walk you through it. But yeah, no, I get excited when Disney actually like goes outside their family bubble a little bit and kind of pushes the envelope a little bit. And just from the atmosphere and the look of this one, it looks like it's going to go in that direction. And I'm really excited. Like I said, the sets looked really great. Javier Bardem as the villain, he looked pretty promising and whatnot. It just looks like it could be a really great callback to the first one, while still looking very, very impressive and stuff. So, the 2 guys that are directing it, their movie Kon-Tiki, I believe won. Joel, was it Best Foreign Film?
I don't think it won. I think it was nominated though. Yeah.
Either way, it's still, I never saw it, but when you watch that trailer, it's kind of got like the same flavor to it and stuff. So, hey, color me surprised. The trailer actually got me. I know it's just a teaser, but I do like the tonal shift that they're going to kind of go for it. So, Joel, what you got?
Okay, so I guess first my take on the series so far. I've actually kind of recently-ish warmed up a lot to Gore Verbinski, who was the one who directed the first 3 and The Lone Ranger. I think that he's one of the most interesting blockbuster directors out there. I absolutely idolize Dead Man's Chest. I think it's amazing. Even when it goes too long, I think that's part of Verbinski's forte. Is he's a director of excess. That was the problem for me with the 4th one, which was just a total mess. It was fitting like 2,000 hours of plot into 2 hours, and it was just a total mess. This one really does look interesting, though, and I like that Javier Bardem is the villain, and not just because he was like one of the great villains of the century so far, in No Country for Old Men. I think that he's just simply a perfect villain character in general, especially for something where he's going to be playing opposite of Johnny Depp. They have a very similar energy of being able to play oddball performances with some pathos to them, and so I'm very excited. I thought it was interesting that they didn't have Johnny Depp in the trailer. I'm not going to jump to the conspiracy theory of his recent legal troubles being responsible for that. I think that they're kind of just hiding him because they wanted to focus on teasing the villain. I think that was very smart. It gets you intrigued to see what's this character's deal beyond apparently being dead. And I love the visual effects work on him already. I actually have a friend who saw this movie earlier this year. He was able to nab some sort of special thing where he went to a test screening of it when it was early in the visual effects phases, and I think that he was fairly okay with it. I know that he found segments of it boring, but he's not a fan of the series, so that's interesting. But he did say that Bardem was good, and so I'm very excited for this. But I kind of wish, honestly, that Verbinski would come back. He made 4 really, really great summer blockbusters, and now, of course, has his name stigmatized because he kind of failed the box office with his last one. And but I'm very interested to see where this series goes from here. And this seems to be a promising step in the right direction from On Stranger Tides, which I just hated. So that's my take.
Yeah, no, and I'm glad you brought up Gore Verbinski. Dear Lord, like I said, I think the first 3 are fine for what they are. And my favorite thing he's actually done is the Ring remake. I think that one is a really well-done American horror film. I know it's a remake, but I actually like it better than Ring U. But I'm on the opposite with The Grudge. I think their Grudge is way better than ours. But, yeah, no, I think he's a very interesting director for sure. And he kind of puts his own little spin on big blockbusters and whatnot. So, yeah. Actually, no, I take that back. I completely fucking forgot he did Rango. I love Rango, man. Like, yeah, so that probably be my favorite. So, Um,
There's another movie that people need to seek out that he did between the first and second Pirates of the Caribbean. I think to take a break because he then filmed those back to back, the second and third ones. And it's called The Weatherman, and it's one of Nicolas Cage's best performances. It's a very small drama, very pitch black comedy, really good, and it's a weird departure for him, but it's terrific. So I'm just kind of plugging that in there.
yeah,
Go see.
no,
No, that's really off topic, but yeah, I love the guy. I think that he needs to come back. I think that somebody needs to give him, some have the courage to kind of stand up for his very strange, oddball energy with directing really long blockbusters that take a lot of chances, especially Lone Ranger. So
yeah,
that's my thing. But this movie does look very good, and I'm excited.
yeah. I'm just really curious to see um, it kind of play out because it is going to be the first one that's going to be directed by a bunch of independent filmmakers versus a big blockbuster one. So I'm curious to see how that goes. Now, guys, listen. I usually don't get excited for when we talk about trailers and stuff, but god damn, these next three probably my favorites of the week, and it was really kind of hard to decide which one is my favorite. But I'm going to leave the most bizarre one for last, so we're going to kind of start a little quieter at first, and we'll move our way up. Now, the next one I want to talk about is Allied with Brad Pitt and Marion Cotillard. And so I remember when I was talking about the teaser trailer or the first trailer that dropped, it wasn't really much. It was just like, them kind of doing their Mr. and Mrs. Smith back in the, Nazi era. And I was like, okay, that's fine, whatever. But this trailer drops. I am completely in. Like, this trailer reminds me of like old-timey films from like the 40s or something. Like, it seems like a different era type of film put in 2016. Essentially, you don't need to watch the trailer. I'm just going to tell you the brief plot synopsis, and that's it, because I feel like it spoils a little too much. But Brad Pitt, Marion Cotillard, they are a thing. Someone approaches Brad Pitt. They say his wife is a German spy and you need to kill her, or we will kill her for you. That's it. And I love the vibe of it. I loved Brad Pitt in it. Like, he doesn't really surprise me as an actor. Like, everything he does I either really like or really love, but he never like throws me a curveball where I'm just like, well, hot damn, Brad, you got yourself like a really good role in your hands. But I think this might be it. There was a lot of confliction within his character. I love how it shifts from the beginning of the trailer to the end, where you just, at the very first he's very confident, but at the end he feels very unsure about his life, and everything's being questioned about his life. I love all the suspenseful moments and whatnot. It looks like a really good kind of romance suspense film. So yeah, I'm totally down. And Robert Zemeckis, I love the guy. I think his modern stuff is very underappreciated. I love Flight. I think that's the better version of Sully. I really like The Walk from last year, and this looks like it could be another great modern hit. I know his movies don't make that much money, but in terms of like everything he's done recently, I've really loved. Looking forward to this one. So Joel, what you got? What do you think of the good old Allied?
Oh man, this is one of my most anticipated of the winter. I am so excited for this, and you're so right. It looks like a great old-fashioned melodrama, suspense movie kind of put in there, but it seems to be just like this traditional melodrama that was made in the 40s. A friend of mine put it a really good way, but not in like this is a playful way. It looked like it comes out in 2002, which is a good way of putting it because they don't seem to make very many of these movies anymore. Even from from 15 years ago. So
it just goes back to what I said. It feels a lot more old school than something made today.
And leave it to Bob Zemeckis to do that because I love that guy. I'm gonna come out and say it right now. I love Forrest Gump. Everybody hates Forrest Gump.
I like Forrest Gump.
Love Forrest Gump, and I love Back to the Future. I love all three of them. I love Flight, as you said. I thought that was his best in a while. I love the Polar Express. I love that he was able to kind of usher in the motion capture with animation, actual animation. So I really, really cannot wait for this. It looks like it's going to have some of the best photography of the year, and he's back working with Don Burgess, who shot Forrest Gump, and it looks absolutely just mesmerizingly beautiful, visually speaking. I feel like it's going to be a major player in technical categories, and honestly, I feel like this is a major dark horse for big categories too, because the Academy loves him, or at least they have loved him in the past, and I feel like he's kind of returning to this serious mainstream, prestige picture, and even it's kind of coming out in November. It's kind of perfect, and I just cannot wait for this. I am in my butt is in that seat day one. That Tuesday evening that it opens, I'm gonna be in there. So I just can't wait.
Yeah, it kind of came out of nowhere, and I was like, well, damn, Zemeckis, you still got me hooked, brother.
Actually, most excited for this movie than probably for any other movie that we're talking about in the trailers.
Interesting. I'm on the
like
flip
there
side.
are better trailers, even if there are better trailers, and I think there are. It was a well put together trailer, but we're talking about different things there. Movie wise, it's the one that I'm looking most forward to of the ones that we're talking about here.
Okay, yeah, I mean that's totally cool, man. I wouldn't put it against you because it is definitely one of the best trailers. But my favorite one of the week, before we talk about the bizarre one in a good way, is Jackie. Now this is the one, Natalie Portman. She plays Jackie Kennedy, and it looks like we're gonna see her before JFK's assassination and afterwards, and just kind of just go through her life. I mean, that's basically what the movie is. This looks like it could win her second Oscar in a row within 3 years. She won for Black Swan back in 2013, and I love that film quite a bit. I think it's Aronofsky, man. Like, I always battle back and forth between Black Swan and The Wrestler as my favorite. But I love his whole filmography in general, and Black Swan it's one of those movies that has one of the perfect endings to any character, any arc. It just ends the way you would want it to feel. The music swells up, the acting's there, the cinematography is there, the editing is just right, and it's a perfect send-off. Now for this one, it looks really, really good. It looks like Natalie Portman is going to sink herself into another role where we're not going to see her. We're going to see this character, this real-life person that she is portraying. I cannot wait for this. This looks like she could be the front runner for the Oscar this year. I'm looking forward to it. I'm not the biggest fan of biopics, but when you can sell me on a trailer, it gets me even more pumped. So, Joel, what say you? Are you looking forward to this one? Do you think Natalie Portman can kind of get back to her golden age, with like a Black Swan, or even when she did Leon the Professional? What do you think about that?
It's my favorite trailer of the ones that we're going to be talking about. I think it's a really uniquely edited, and it looks. She's got some kind of accent going on, and it's a perfect accent. People who are saying that it sounds really over the top have never heard Jackie Kennedy speak. That was exactly how she spoke, and so I'm very, very excited. I love how the trailer was focused on her performance, and these sort of I've heard amazing things about it, that it kind of is a very non-linear, non-traditional approach, almost experimental kind of in terms of the structure, and she's one of my favorite actresses right now, so it's going to be hard for her to top her Black Swan performance, but she's had some great ones since then. Even Hesher was a great little movie, and she was terrific in that. Anyway, and so I'm very excited for this. Very, very, very excited for this.
Holy shit! I'm such an idiot. It wasn't 2013. It was 2011 or 2010. Sorry. So it's been a while since she won her Oscar.
6 years already since Black Swan. It doesn't feel like that.
Isn't that crazy? Like, that's fucking nuts. I remember watching that in theaters, and I was in college at that point, so yeah. Getting old. All right, so and then the last trailer, guys. This is the most what the fuck did I just see? However, I am so fucking intrigued. It comes out in February as well, so 50 Shades Darker Dildo, get out of the way because you have another one coming for you. All right. I don't even know where to start. So first of all, there was a story that I talked about a while back that Jordan Peele from Key and Peele was going to do a horror film. And I was like, that's interesting. It seems like he's got a real passion for it. If he wants to do it, you go for it, Mr. Peele. I'm behind you. This trailer drops. Now, Joel does not know this, but I'm actually going to say it on air because I'm going to make Joel blush. But when I saw the thumbnail to this trailer, I was like, oh, God, it looks really terrible. But Joel, this motherfucker, was the one who posted on Facebook, I'm actually looking forward to this movie. And I was like, really? So I was like, fuck, Joel, you got me. So I watched it, and I was like, oh, shit, this is the Jordan Peele movie. This fucking movie. The way I can describe it is that a black man is in a relationship with a white woman. They go visit her parents. And you're probably thinking to yourself, oh, this is going to be like a, I don't know, like a...
Guess who?
Yeah, guess who, or like guess who's coming to dinner. And it's like, okay, whatever. But then all these white people start kidnapping black people, and it dives into like the weirdest like fucking plot. But god damn it, this trailer hooked me. Hook, line, and sinker. It was so intriguing. It was so well edited. I was like, what the hell is going on? I do not care, but this is so awesome. I felt very creeped out. I felt sucked into the movie. I was like, I want to know what happens next. It looks so bizarre and so freaky that I am on board. I never thought I would say it, but I'm actually looking forward to this quite a bit. And it's only a few months away. So Jordan Peele, you got me, man. I love your comedy, but this trailer, I can't even. I just completely just white girled all over my microphone. I cannot even. Joel, can you please have the words come out of your mouth so mine makes sense? Like I don't even know where to start.
Okay, so I'm going to make a pretty shocking statement. You know, we've got a lot of really promising stuff coming out next spring. It's one of the more promising looking spring periods for movies in a while. We've had several years of, you know, total dead zones for a couple of months, and then it kind of speeds up a little bit. But this looks like a really promising spring. This movie is my most anticipated of the entire spring period, talking January through mid-April, really. And this movie looks completely awesome. It completely blindsided me. There's stuff going on here that is entirely inexplicable. I can't wait to see what it is in context, because it looks like he goes from one sort of approach to a completely different, almost like a Kubrickian horror kind of approach. You know, The Shining-esque, Eyes Wide Shut kind of thing. And it looks like it's going to really, really like strike a raw nerve into a very important conversation that's happening right now surrounding, you know, the relationships between black people and white people. It's horror satire, it looks to be. And I cannot wait. It is just, I mean, if this movie doesn't completely rock, then I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to lose it. I cannot wait for this movie. It looks genius, utterly genious.
You know,
so I love the simple title, Get Out. Like I just love
get the fuck out.
Get out.
Well, like you know what's really strange, and like this is actually going to bleed in very, very well into our topic for this week's episode. But if you guys don't know this, I work at the Dallas Police Department, and I'm not afraid to tell you where I work because I don't think anyone's after me. But I am actually a minority there. I work with a lot of black people. There are a lot of white officers there, but for the most part, I work under a minority structure. Now, they brought up this trailer, and they said, that was interesting, but I'm really curious to see how the black community is going to react to this type of film when it's portraying race this way. And I counteracted with, but the writer and director is black himself, and he's also doing this as a satire, so I think they'll go a little easier on him. But they were telling me that black people in black communities, and this is coming from two African-American gentlemen, so I'm not making this up, they told me that black people look at films differently, and they judge a lot harshly on racial type of movies and whatnot. And I think to a certain extent that is very true, and especially if it is made by a black filmmaker. It's very, like what Joel said, it's very dangerous territory to kind of walk into. But I think overall it is okay, because we shouldn't really take this seriously versus like A Birth of a Nation, because this is satire. It is told in a more entertainment light than an actual, I'm making a message. However, we could watch this movie and it could completely blow us away with a message. I don't know, but we have to watch it. So it was just really interesting that they brought that up. And, I told them what I think, and they're like, that's cute. You're white. You don't know anything. So it's like, oh, thanks, guys. No, I would like to learn what, different people think about different movies and stuff. That's why I'm in this business. I love people's opinions on certain things. And, when they brought that up, it just kind of sparked a conversation for a good hour on, what was it? It was yesterday. So, I just found it interesting that they kind of brought that up in a different light, and they found more concern with it versus me that thought it was so batshit kooky crazy that I thought it would be a really great piece of horror entertainment. So, interesting stuff. So that's it for the trailers, guys. What was your favorite? Comment down in that place, just rub my face and let me know. And so that kind of bleeds in very well into our topic of conversation. Before we get into the movie that is behind this controversy, now, Joel and I were not going to, we don't mean to offend anyone. As you guys said right off the bat, we're going to tell it like it is. And I'm sorry if you feel offended. That is not our intention. We're not going to blatantly just say like a bunch of shit that's going to piss off a bunch of people. We're just going to, we're gonna tell it like it is, because this is a very sensitive subject, but it is very important for the film industry and stuff, and what it means to support someone when they're under fire like this. So the topic of conversation before we get into our review of Birth of a Nation is, can you separate the art from the artist? Now that is one of those poisonous questions that keeps getting brought up in this community of film lovers, because do you really want to support a movie of a person that has committed sexual assault or rape or any type of abuse in their past, murder, anything that has to do on that level? Can you support their film still? So that is what we're going to be bringing up. And the story is, Nate Parker, who is the writer, director, and star of The Birth of a Nation. When it came out in the film festivals in January, it got so much buzz. People were saying that this is going to be the best picture, Oscar winner. And you know what? I watched the trailer and I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if this won Best Picture. It looks like it could be a really nice, sweeping, epic story, set in the slave times and whatnot. And so I was like, yeah, I believe it. But then about a month ago, Nate Parker was accused of sexually assaulting a young woman back when he was in college. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, you can get some testimony from the young lady, right? Unfortunately, this is a very weird circumstance where she has committed suicide, unfortunately, and so we can't really get her side of the story. Now, as the story progressed, the co-writer who was found, or who was accused with Parker, he was actually sentenced. He was actually found guilty. He did his time and whatnot, but Nate Parker has not yet. So he has not been found guilty. If he had,
was acquitted. He was acquitted.
Acquitted. So thank you. But if it comes out later down the road that there was hard evidence that he did do it and he is found guilty, it's one of those weird things where I won't be able to support it. And I went into Birth of a Nation with an open mind and stuff, and I separated that. I separated what Parker has done in his past, and I'm taking the movie as face value. But it is kind of hard to watch something knowing that. The worst thing I can ever think of that someone has done, and I'll show you a clear difference of people, because there are many, many layers to this, and I'll let Joel speak on what he thinks. But Jeepers Creepers 1 and 2 it was done by the same dude. Now, he was actually found guilty of a pretty heinous crime, and he was sentenced to jail for I think 10 years or something like that. Now that he's out, he wants to make Jeepers Creepers 3. I will not want to watch that movie knowing what this guy has done. Now, you look at someone like a Roman Polanski, who was found guilty of, sexual assault and whatnot of a minor, and he's not even allowed in this country anymore. So that's one of those things where, he's on the run, he knows what he did. I won't watch any of his movies, ever. You go on the other side where it's like Mel Gibson says some racist shit through a voicemail. Now, that sounds pretty bad on the surface, and it does. But I will continue to support his movies because he was just being an asshole on voicemail. That is way different to me than, murder or sexual assault or rape. I think those are unforgivable, unexcusable things versus someone getting drunk and speaking their mind. Yes, what he did was very, very wrong, and I do not support that. However, I will continue to watch his movies. That does not bother me. I think he's been in, movie jail long enough to where it's I think you learn your lesson. It's going to be on him for the rest of his life. It's not going to ever go away. But if he wants to move forward, you do it, Mr. Gibson. I'm totally down. Or if someone had stuff leaked back in the day that they robbed a fucking Snickers bar, or robbed a 7-Eleven of a candy bar or something, that doesn't bother me because it's whatever. We've all done stupid shit in our past to where it's not life-threatening to someone else or whatever. It's just something stupid, but it is kind of, on illegal terms. I've done some stuff I'm not proud of. And trust me, I put all that down when I was getting hired for the city of Dallas, and, they still hired me because it's not anything that's not new. You know what I'm saying? So it's really, for me, it goes case by case. So if you do anything very heinous, I will not support your movies. So the fact that I have seen Birth of a Nation now, and Nate Parker was acquitted, if something comes out in the future where it's hard damning evidence that shows you that you're guilty, then it's yeah, I don't know if I can watch that movie again knowing that in the back of my mind. So, Joel, what about you? When you were watching Birth of a Nation, could you separate that from you? And what do you think about this in general? What is your limit? Is there stuff that filmmakers could get away with that you're fine with because it's very minor? And do you consider, just the major stuff, or are you kind of all across the board? Just what do you think about this whole thing?
Well, I kind of take a view that's fairly controversial on Facebook, so you probably now know what it is. But here's the thing. So I think that it is absolutely it's an imperative in somebody's life that they be able to do this, that they be able to separate art from the artist, because here's the thing. So whatever the quality of the Birth of a Nation is, and we'll get into that later, whatever the quality of it is, the story is one that needs to be told, and that has nothing to do, to me at least, has nothing to do with Nate Parker's character, except for maybe the fact that he felt the need to tell the story, in which case that does actually reflect positively on him. Whatever he's done in the past, things can still reflect positively on people, and that is one thing that does. What he did, or allegedly did, if he did it, is a terrible, terrible crime. I'm of the opinion that rape is actually the worst crime, worse than murder, and I could get into that elsewhere, but I think it's the worst crime. And so if he did do this, he is a disgusting person that is not worth my time.
I agree.
And I will still watch his movies. Here's why. And actually, so following through, no, there's not a line for me. Where there's not something that could happen where essentially I could watch a movie by a director who was found guilty and served time for murder. I would do that, and here's the reason why. I'm supporting the art. I look at it. Yeah, maybe some of the money goes to the director at some point. I actually am in a position where I see most of my movies for free because my father is one of the security officers at the theater that I attend. When I go to other theaters, I obviously have to pay, but at this particular theater where I saw this movie was at the theater where I'm able to. One of the perks is free tickets, so I didn't have to pay. Um, and so I kind of look at that as, supporting the art without supporting the art, if you will. So I felt a little bit better about the fact that, I wasn't paying money to the guy. And when he initially came on screen, I had a little bit of a twinge of, disgust toward him. I'm definitely not going to hide the fact that I don't like him if he committed this crime. That's another important thing, and I'm glad to see that you brought it up without using the words. But assumption of innocence before guilt is a moral imperative. I think it's a moral obligation.
I agree.
And he's got to be proven to have committed the crime. If he was acquitted, that may have meant that they found no evidence that he was involved. We don't know. We don't know what happened. And really only 3 people apparently know, and one of those has sadly passed away. And so our moral obligation now is to assume innocence until he's guilty. Now, the co-writer was found guilty, which means that we can consider him guilty of that crime, and that's a person that I don't respect. But although I don't think he was a writer, I think he did a story draft or something, but he isn't credited as a writer. But nevertheless, I believe that it is an imperative that we separate art from the artist. People like Victor Salva, who directed the Jeepers Creepers movies. I haven't seen those yet, actually, but I plan to. I think that they look interesting. I'm planning to see them at some point, but I will watch them, whatever the crime he committed was. And the same with Roman Polanski, Woody Allen. Is also on that list, and a lot of celebrities and stars have stuff in their past that is shameful, but unfortunately they are also creating art when they create it, and that's the thing that needs to be considered when watching the art. You can't like I've been seeing a lot of negative reviews about how especially on Letterboxd, about how it's this movie from this rapist, and so they give it like 1 star. And I just think that's also, it's in an entirely different way, but it's also shameful because what they're doing is they're saying, well, nobody who's done anything wrong at all is worthy to create art, and I'm just going to now take a big dump on it, and it doesn't make any sense to me as a person who watches this stuff for not a living, but essentially for a living without being paid. And I think it's absolutely important. I think that the controversy is founded in something that makes sense, but I don't think that it needed to enter into so much of the conversation that people are now starting to consider, negatively reviewing the movie because it happened in real life. It has nothing to do with the movie. That's the fact. It has nothing to do with the movie. And no, not even the fact that they apparently shoehorned a fake sexual assault into the movie, something that didn't happen. That is irresponsible, but it's irresponsible on 2 levels. One is the fact that it does reflect poorly on Nate Parker, but that's less important than the fact that it's shoehorned into the movie. It's a way to forward drama without, by using this very serious thing as a motivation. That's a bigger problem to me in terms of the art than the fact that it comes from a person who might have done the same thing in real life. It's an imperative that we separate these things. And anyway, so that's my take.
Yeah, no, hey, listen, dude. I respect your take on it. It's just for some people like myself, it just if you get to that point where you cross into the rape and like murder territory, or even stuff to do with children, it's just I can't do it, man. It's just, but like I said, there's a lot of people that can't do Mel Gibson movies anymore, and it's like he was a drunk asshole. It's like we've all said stupid shit. I don't condone some of the shit I've said in my past, but if I was a famous filmmaker and people wanted to hold me over to it, I can't stop them. But at the same time, he's been in movie jail for so long, Joel, and that's another question I have to ask. For all these people that just can't watch any of these movies, for any crime committed by people, including myself to a certain extent, do you think people should forgive? I mean, because that is a major thing, with our justice system and stuff, is when justice is served and you serve your time, is it acceptable to think of them as a new person and not to think about their past and really just kind of let them evolve and let them grow from their mistakes? Or, just, I guess, tell me about that. Like, do you think it's just, like, wrong for people to continue to judge even after they've served their time and they were able to forgive them but choose not to because of their own prejudices and stuff? So, I mean, what do you think about all that?
I mean, it all comes down to empathy. A friend of mine, a film critic named Mark Dusick, when Amy came out last year, the documentary about Amy Winehouse, he posited a question in his review, which was like, why don't we treat celebrities like we treat, our loved ones? And it's this sense of detachment from them because of that sort of the veil of, we're kind of just regular people. They're in the spotlight. I think that it's important to forgive when we know that it's time to forgive. So, for instance, like Mel Gibson, he did stupid things, but it's time, honestly, to get over it with him. He's a great filmmaker. He's about to make his big comeback. I really hope that in the week leading up to Hacksaw Ridge, it isn't some big conversation about how he was once racist. We should bring that up again, relitigate the whole thing. It's dumb to do that because at some point, you just gotta get over it. I could bring up Donald Trump's thing today about that. That's a different thing because he's running for basically leader of the free world. It's a different thing entirely. Of course, it happened when he wasn't, but nevertheless, now that he's running for president, he's got to be held to different standards. With Mel Gibson, he's just a filmmaker. That's all it is. He did the stuff. He made amends over years, trying to make a comeback through better behavior. Same thing with Lindsay Lohan, Amanda Bynes, all these people, Britney Spears, all these people who have these weird pasts, that are in the public eye. I think that genuine human empathy is forgiving when it's time to forgive. Something like with Nate Parker, if he was acquitted and actually committed this crime, then I think that the time to forgive would be after he's served that time. Of course, if he didn't do the crime and he was acquitted rightly, and that comes out, then what we need to do is not go around saying alleged rapist or formerly alleged rapist. I've actually seen formerly alleged. Like, that doesn't make any sense. On some people, I've seen that. Formerly alleged rapist Nate Parker. That doesn't need to happen. I think that it's that point when we need to drop the whole thing, and then again, the sense of empathy. He was then unfairly called a rapist, which is terrible. Is a terrible, terrible thing. A terrible thing. Ruins reputation. You think of the guy who was, I think it happened last year or something. He was an athlete who was wrongfully convicted of rape, spent like 7 years in jail, came out, his reputation was ruined, He couldn't join any. He couldn't join up with any more, with any sports programs, anything, because he had been convicted of rape that he did not do. And now, I don't really see anybody kind of jumping to very many people at least jumping to the defense of this guy because he's already been accused. And so when you're accused of these things, it places a stigma on you, and it makes it impossible for people to believe that you couldn't do it. And so when the proof comes out that you didn't, nobody believes it. They're like, oh, well, it was just made up, because they want to believe that this stuff happened. So it's a very complicated situation. But if Nate Parker did do it, the forgiveness should come after he has paid the price for that crime, and the price should be jail. And then, if he didn't do it, then we need to look at ourselves, and we need to look at this last several months of, vilifying him. Say, hey, we're sorry. Give him a chance to forgive the public. And I'm sure that he would. I'm sure that he would. But I mean, it's very important, very important. When it's time.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, listen, I'm on the same level as you. If he is found guilty with some damning evidence in the future, dude, then that guy is a piece of shit, and he needs to serve his time, whatever it may be. But yeah, for the time being, he is not found of anything. He is innocent as of this point. So going into the movie, you need to separate that, because there's nothing wrong with him in particular in this case. So when you watch the movie, you can make your own opinion afterwards, which is what we're going to do right now, jumping into our review of The Birth of a Nation. Now, if you guys don't know what this movie is about, no, it is not 12 Years a Slave 2, even Slavier. The Birth of a Nation is about Nat Turner, who basically held a 48-hour kind of rebellion uprising, and he fought a bunch of slave owners in the area and whatnot, and he pretty much started the revolution for blacks to stand up and fight for their right as human beings. It's a very, very powerful story. So after watching the movie, I really liked it. Now, I like 12 Years a Slave even more, but I think for this story in particular, and the way Nate Parker did deliver, it is very, very good. And that ending shot is so damn good that it will be like the Conjuring scene, or there's even a couple scenes in Hell or High Water that stuck out. This ending shot in The Birth of a Nation really stuck with me, and it's a very, very powerful ending to this film, and there's a lot of great imagery in general. But I'm gonna, Joel, just give me your did you love it? Did you like it? Did you think it was okay, or did you hate it? And then we'll jump into the directing and writing of it.
I was a bit underwhelmed by this. Okay. I feel like a total butthead right now and I feel a little bit like Ebert did, Roger Ebert did when he saw and was sort of underwhelmed, liked it, but sort of underwhelmed by The Godfather Part 2 in the shadow of the first Godfather, because that's how I feel about this in reference to 12 Years a Slave. That film is a monument. It's a great, great film. And it was unflinching. It almost got NC-17, I believe, and there's a reason for that. It did not look away. There was nothing about that movie that felt tame, safe, and there's not really much about this movie that feels tame. And I feel like that's the wrong word, but I'm going to use two examples, and this is going to sound really weird that I'm complaining about this, like I want to see a whipping, but I don't want to see a whipping, obviously. But if you're talking about a really very, very dark, gritty telling of the slavery story, of somebody's slavery story, you gotta be completely unflinching about it. You gotta capture the horror. So I feel like the difference between these two movies and the thing that kind of sinks The Birth of a Nation is that in 12 Years a Slave, you had the whipping scenes filmed by Steve McQueen in this way that never cut away. You never cut away from the horror of what was going on. In fact, it kind of swirled around it with the camera and just very, very much showed it. This movie, to my remembrance, I think only has one whipping scene. Pretty emotionally charged one, or it should have been. But they didn't show it. They showed his face, which doesn't really react much. It's a scene that kind of has the problem that the rest of the movie has, that it just feels like this very standard biographical telling of the story, beat by beat, scene by scene. Here's what happened, and I guess maybe from the get-go I had memories of 12 Years a Slave and how good that was. Maybe that colored my opinion of this one. I'm not sure. But the problem is that it doesn't really seem to be stretching to comment on the story so much as just telling the story. 12 Years a Slave used the opportunity to comment on the injustices that were done over centuries through its story. This one, it was just this very standard biographical telling. It didn't. The performances were fine. I'll get into that later, but but I'm just talking generally here. The performances were fine. The direction was fine. I thought that there were a couple of really interesting visual motifs that were used. I'll get into those later too. But it just kind of felt like this very standard, beat by beat. I've seen this before in other movies, and it didn't feel like it was stretching to be more than it was. And it's important with a slavery movie to use that to comment on something deeper than just the surface telling. So that's my kind of initial.
Yeah, I will actually agree with you that it did feel a little underwhelming. I want to say like the first half of it. I believe it was the whipping scene that actually kind of got me really into it. Like, I was enjoying myself. Actually, enjoying is a very wrong word for this, but I was impressed by it. I was like, okay, I understand why people are going crazy over this movie. But once the whipping scene happened and once he started to rebel against the slave owners, that's when I really got hooked into the meat of the story. Because let's call it like it is. The actual event that happened was only over a 2-day period, so you can't really stretch that out into a movie. So it's only going to be like a small amount of the actual story in general. So you have to build upon his character. You have to show the love interest and stuff. So I think that was actually the stuff that didn't really get me into it. But once he started the actual rebelling process of the 48-hour run, that's when I really started to get interested. And you could say that it's a little too late at that point, but for me, I still think there was a lot of powerful imagery when the rebellion started that it completely just kind of won me over. So going on into the writing and directing, as far as the story goes, I think it's a really well told story in terms of start to completion. Like I said, the ending tag of the last 20, 30 minutes of the rebellion is just so good, so powerful. And there's a lot of great tender moments in between Nat Turner and the slave owners, Nat Turner and other slaves, Nat Turner and the woman that he goes after, and Nat Turner and his family. There's a lot of great, just smaller character moments where you see him kind of interact with everyone differently. And it's really interesting to see how he goes toe-to-toe with some of the slave owners, because he, at a young age, he stole some books, so he was able to, perfect his English and stuff and learn a lot of words and whatnot, so that way he could be articulate and really kind of go head-to-head with them, which was the most fascinating parts, because I was like, fuck you, slave owners, get your ass down. But as far as the story goes, I really liked it in general. So moving on to the directing, I thought what Nate Parker did was really good. Now, going in, because this really does kind of affect it, is the cinematography, color palette choices, and the music choices. And I think I'll let this fall on Nate Parker's category, so I'll describe this in the directing, is that his overall tone and feeling of the film, like Joel said, he does show stuff. He does not show some stuff. So I think Nate Parker had an interesting concept of what to show and what not to show, when to cut away and when to keep on that shot and really make us feel uncomfortable while watching this and show us the horrors of what we did back in the day. So I thought that was effective for the most part. I'm actually on the opposite. I actually like the fact that they didn't show the whipping and we just saw his face and we saw the frustration, we saw the anger, we saw the sadness, we saw everything kind of brewing up into him at that point, really to kind of break his character over the edge. So I'm on the opposite. I thought that was good, but the actual color palette of the film felt very diluted for some weird reason, and it felt like a reenactment on the History Channel. Like, that's what it kind of looked like, and it's not a bad thing. If you want to make this for more of a TV feel or like an HBO feel, that's fine, go for it. And that's what it kind of felt like in some points, but then other points the cinematography was so good and the symbolism for that scene was so well delivered, then it kind of overshadows the blandness a little bit. And the music choices, okay, I am for a scene playing out, letting the actors do the performances and let the emotions kind of bring out in the actors and then bring it out onto the audience. I am not a fan of when a director really overpowers a scene with music, going, hey, you need to feel this way. And I felt like that was what was happening most of the time. The music was good, a little overbearing to, my taste, and I just think Nate Parker could have, drew it back a little bit and made it a little bit more subtle and let the scene grow more organically with the performances and the actors versus like hitting us over the head with music. So that's my thoughts on the writing and directing. Joel, what say you? What do you think about the writing structure, the story, the characters, and the overall direction of Nate Parker?
Well, I sort of got into the writing in my opening. It was a competently told story. It was just kind of a standard biographical thing. I thought that they really squished the actual rebellion in the last 20 minutes in a way that felt too little, too late. It was a well directed scene, and that's I guess I'm going to move into that now. The direction I thought was solid. I think that he has a solid eye. I sort of disagree about the cinematography, I guess. Some of the scenes did feel a little dourly shot.
Yeah.
In terms of just the color palette was a bit grim. I guess we're working with slavery here, but nevertheless, 12 Years a Slave looked gorgeous.
Yeah, that was a gorgeous film versus this, where it looked like, in some scenes, a glorified TV movie.
Yeah, but I will say, so I mentioned a couple of visual motifs that I thought were really interesting. One of them, I don't really want to give away the context, but it involves a pullback from a butterfly that is resting on the chest of somebody, and you are more and more horrified as it pulls back because it starts with such an innocent image. You're not sure what it's resting on, then you find out, and then you find out that figure is not alone, and you find out the apparent age of that figure first, and then you find out that the figure's not alone, and then you find out, oh, wow, what kind of a group this is. So I don't want to give that away. Probably have already, but nevertheless, I'm not actually giving it away. The other thing, and it was actually my favorite moment in the movie, and it was a very small moment. It was a dream sequence or a something where Nat Turner is holding a stalk of corn that starts to bleed.
Yes.
Which I thought, whoa, this is genius. That image is genius. That is the visual motif. If you were to take, it would be hard to do this, but he did it. If you were to take all of slavery, all the years of it, think about the effect that had, the impact that had directly in the moment and after, all the blood that was spilled, and the fact that it was done over work. I mean, that's what this thing defined, just in that simple image of a stalk of corn bleeding. I just thought that that was brilliant. And I really wanted more like that. I really wanted more moments like that where he was taking on this symbolic thing and making a visual motif for it. There was so little of that, and it was just a brilliant moment. But the music, though, actually, that was sort of my second favorite thing. My favorite aspect of the movie was the score. I thought that it was beautifully scored. Henry Jackman did the score. He's the guy who's done a wide variety. I think he scored the first Iron Man. He scored Captain Phillips a couple years ago, and he's done a lot of different things. And this, I think, is one of his best scores. I thought that it sort of reminded me a bit of John Williams' work on Schindler's List a lot, and so I really like the score, and especially in the last bit. But anyway, I know that this sounds weird, like I'm not recommending the movie, even though these things kind of lifted it. But the writing is kind of the thing here. I think it's just a very standard biographical telling of a story that really needed a more significant thrust behind it. And so yeah, that's the thing that underwhelms me. I'm a storytelling guy, generally speaking, and I felt like this was just kind of here's what happened. One A, one B, one C. Just kind of going through the outline.
Yeah. No. Listen. I agree with you on some things. I disagree with you on some things. But what I can tell you is, I agree with you on the music. Like, I just wish it was a little pulled back a little bit. Make it a little more subtle instead of like have a nice ramp up instead of hit you in the head really strongly and just get louder from that point. I do like the music. I just wish it was kind of drawn back a bit. And like what you're saying with the blood and the corn and like the butterfly and stuff, there's a lot of great imagery in this that will stick with you till the rest of the year. I'm not even joking. Like, there's a lot of scenes in this that I cannot unsee and has burned a permanent image in my brain that I will never forget. And moving on into the acting, listen, I think Nate Parker completely delivers. The emotion is there. I love his arc as a character, how he felt very articulate and intelligent, but very weak in the beginning. Then he becomes this really strong leader at the end. He does fine. The supporting cast does fine. But I was really impressed with Armie Hammer and the woman that played his mother. Now, I always, like, 12 Years a Slave, the reason why it works so well is because they show different levels of slave ownership. Now, slave ownership in general is fucking terrible. So you show shitty ones, and then you show really shitty ones. The cool thing I liked about Armie Hammer's character is that he swayed me as an audience member. I had no idea if he was actually going to grow to be one of the just shitty ones or really grow into the really shitty ones. So I really like kind of his play back and forth with his character. He was really fucking awesome. And then his mom, she was always on the good side. But the confliction with her character and how she wanted to uphold her family's name so she would not look bad around the community, I love that about her. She was going back and forth the entire film, and you could see it in her face, especially at the ending kind of sequence or whatever. It completely sold me as her and Armie Hammer being my favorites for sure. All the other slave owners and people that just hate black people in the movie, like Jackie Earl Haley. He is Michael Fassbender's 12 Years a Slave. He's fucking disgusting. I wanted to punch him. I wanted to kill him right then and there. But he delivers a great job portraying that. He was convincing. He was fucking despicable. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the acting. Like I said, all the supporting cast, including all the slaves and some of the other slave owners, I thought they did a very well done job. But Armie Hammer and the mother are my favorite, and Nate Parker does a pretty good job as the lead. So, Joel, what you got?
Sort of basically the same thoughts. Armie Hammer is far and away my favorite, though. I think that what's so interesting about his character is that I hate saying this about a slave owner, but it's so complex because you feel like this is kind of could be a good man.
Yeah.
You feel like he could if he tried to break away from this, that he could be some sort of good man. However, like you said, he shows his true colors. He's a man who is as willing to stick up for his slave and also threaten his entire family with lynching in one scene. Like that's the kind of guy he is. He's very, very he's nice on the surface, or he's pleasant, I should say.
He's shitty, not as
right.
shitty or really shitty.
So and his mother Penelope Ann Miller plays her, and she's really good as well. And she sort of speaks for these people who clearly don't like black people and feel that they're apart from themselves, but also there's some sort of I feel like there's some sort of energy with her that is uncomfortable with this. You can kind of see it. You can kind of see it in some scenes. Maybe not so uncomfortable that she thinks that the whole establishment should be dissolved and all that, because it's very clear that it's this was sort of it's sort of like how when the Nazis were exterminating Jews. Essentially, they looked at the whole thing as a business operation, and that these were expendable, machines that they could just kind of power down at any moment. So they killed them all. And you get this feeling that with slave owners, it was a similar thing. It was a business operation. So I feel like with her, though, I feel like she was able to convey some sort of element that felt uncomfortable about the fact that this is a business operation, even though she didn't feel like it was serious enough that she would look at these slaves as anything more than less than human, and so that was those were two very interesting performances, and I thought that Nate Parker was good. Those were the three performances, though. Well, also Agent Naomi King as Nat Turner's eventual wife. Those are really the performances that I felt were actually subtle, because then you have Jackie Earle Haley, and I don't agree with you. I don't like his. I mean, I guess I generally thought that he was a scumbag, but it just seems like the typical Jackie Earle Haley role, and except for maybe Watchmen, but it did feel like Michael Fassbender's performance, but a lot less interesting. He's able to convey a lot with his eyes, and that's about it. And then I mean, I didn't feel like a lot of the other performances were noteworthy good, just not noteworthy,
Yeah, no,
but
agree.
Armie Hammer was excellent, and I know that he was kind of before the controversy basically sunk the film's chances. I feel like he was in the talks a lot for Best Supporting Actor, and I really think that I wouldn't personally nominate him. I think at this point I've seen too many good performances that are better than this, but I feel like for the purposes of the Oscars, a performance like this, I mean, it's the best one in the movie. I feel like if the Academy ends up seeing it and liking it, especially the actors, then they could give it some love, and I feel like it could go to him, at least the nomination, and it would be a worthy one. I think it's a really good performance that it didn't have to have so much complexity to it. It could have been the one-note slave owner who really isn't all that good, but he adds this weird element that isn't quite sympathetic, but it's like I said, it's complex, and there are layers to that character that are very interesting, simplified by the end by us realizing that he really is that guy, but nevertheless, building up to a certain moment, the moment when it doesn't become important anymore how he is, it's a really interesting performance, and
I agree. I think he should be nominated for supporting at least. So moving on to the cinematography and the editing of the film. like I said, going back to Nate's kind of choice in the color palette, I don't really care for like the dour kind of gray tone look to it. But then it was really weird because then there'd be some shots where the blood was very highlighted, or the color in the candles when they were lit were very highlighted, or some of the shots towards the end when it got really powerful were really well done in terms of the lighting and the way the camera was dolling out or dolling in, or just the way it was set up. But then there'd be some shots where in dour that I was like, I don't know. It has a TV feel to it, and then on the other side, it's beautiful cinematography. It has great symbolism and whatnot. To Joel's point with the cob and the blood, and then for me, my favorite shot is at the very end. I'm not going to say what happens, but it's literally a transformation, and it speaks volumes to the character that it's transforming on, and it's just a really great shot in general. So
that final shot is great. It's very unsettling. Right after that ended, and then the the intertitles at the end, and the director, all that came up. I mean, the audience member to the front of me by several rows was sobbing, and I feel like it's pretty directly because of that shot. I mean, just how direct it is. I mean, it's a terrific shot. I mean, terrific shot in a terrible way.
Well, I mean, like it's
in a really unsettling way, but it is great.
It's a great shot to end the movie on. Like I didn't think it was going to end on that, and I was really impressed that it ended with that. So it literally is the title of the film, The Birth of a Nation. Like that transformation between that character is kind of the progression of what Nat Turner kind of infused in other people. So I found that really compelling. But going into the editing of the film, it's about a couple hours. I think for the most part, it has a nice pace to it. If slave movies are not your thing, I know that some people don't like watching them. It can seem very, very slow to some people, but I thought there was enough compelling elements to keep my interest the entire way. Like I said, it was a little rocky at first or whatever, but once it started getting really heated between Nat Turner and the slave owners and stuff, especially when he was forced to preach to other slaves that were in worse condition than him, which was fucking disgusting to watch. That's when it really started to pick up for me, and I started to get more interested into the character and just the progression and stuff. So I think for the most part, I think it has a nice pace and flow to it, unlike the second movie I'm going to talk about on tonight's episode. But I think for the most part, it's well rhythmed out, if I do say so myself, even with the depressing subject matter. So Joel, what say you about? I mean, you already discussed the cinematography. What about the editing? Did you like it? Did you like the pace of it? Like, what was your kind of overall feel for the rhythm of the film?
I felt it had a solid. I felt it had a solid pace for a while, and then it kind of rushed the end. Like I said, I think it's a good sequence, but it just, I don't know. It was weird there at the end, because I felt like they smashed the rebellion all together into one big action scene. And I hate calling it an action scene. That simplifies the whole story, but it's what they kind of, to me at least, that's what they kind of approached it as. But it did have a good pace, good cuts between images, good sound work. I thought these kinds of movies always generally have good sound work, and yeah, so I thought that it was well put together. Let's just say, and it feels like I'm being too mean considering the topics we cover, but again, I'm a storytelling guy. It's well put together, and it's just kind of the writing of the movie kind of sinks it for me. So if we're gonna move into the last grades, or final grades, I'm going with a C for this one.
Wow, you're going that low?
Yeah, with a C, and just kind of middle of the road. I don't consider C bad. It's not a bad movie. I just think it was a very standard. Didn't really stretch a lot to say more than it was saying, and that was here's what happened with Nat Turner's rebellion. Um, I thought that it ended nicely though, with those last scenes and how it wraps up at the last second. But it was just kind of, it was too late for me, and I wasn't as moved as I wanted to be. It was a moving story, but the execution of the story didn't emotionally engage me to the degree that I wanted it to. It just didn't grab me as 12 Years a Slave did. And I feel like that's important to say because 12 Years a Slave is a monument, and I feel like it's going to be the bar kind of that these movies have to meet. For now, I feel like movies shouldn't try hard to do that. I feel like they should just do what they do. But this one, coming so soon after it and having that still in my mind, it kind of paled in comparison. Maybe part of that's me, I don't know, but nevertheless, I wasn't as moved as I wanted to be. So that was my final grade of a C, just middle of the road, completely.
Okay, I mean, hey, that's completely fair. For me personally, I like the movie quite a bit. I thought the direction from Nate Parker was very well done. Couple of the scenes felt very TV movie-esque. The over-the-top violence didn't bother me. The shot choices didn't bother me in terms of showing what needed to be shown and what didn't need to be shown. I love the ending. I love some of the imagery. It's a very powerful film. The acting all around is very good. And Armie Hammer has my support for supporting actor at the Oscars. I'm going to give The Birth of a Nation a solid B. So what did you guys think of The Birth of a Nation? Comment in the place from my face and let me know. Joel gave it a C. I gave it a B. Where do you guys lie with it? Because it had so much hype coming out of Sundance and whatnot, so let us know down below. And speaking of Joel and his reviews, Joel, I'm going to ask you questions about the movie 13th, which is the new Netflix documentary that just came out yesterday. First of all, before we get into the review, Joel, what is this documentary about?
Yes, okay, so this documentary is, well, one of the most important things I've ever seen. And it sheds light on a very interesting topic, very very much with the movie that we just talked about, or in the same category about what happens after that in the next 200 years or so. The premise is that the 13th Amendment to the Constitution. Actually, I'm going to read it. I forgot I was going to bring my little copy of the Constitution that I have. I'm going to read it real quick because this provides very important context. So let me find this. Hold up. Man, I really wish I had brought that. I meant to grab it. Okay, so it has a couple of sections, and it's 2 sentences long. It's not very long, but it has a couple of sections. And section 1 says, "Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction." And then I don't have the exact wording here of the second section, but it essentially says Congress has the power to enforce this through legislation. So the premise of the movie is that following the Civil War and Lincoln's assassination, and at the beginning of the Reconstruction era, there had been a rise in militarization of police in the country. And so, obviously legislators, lawmakers who really had no reason to just turn around on their opinion of slavery as an important thing, as a good thing, decided, you know what, we're going to put this in this amendment that states that you can't be a slave unless you've been convicted for a crime. And that's important. That's a big loophole in this amendment, is that so the premise is that after this happened, in the next 100 years, there was this holding pattern where blacks were basically treated as second-class citizens. a certain racial epithet that I'm not going to repeat here becomes criminal, becomes literally the word criminal. It's just replaced. And so what the 13th Amendment allows for is the introduction of these quote unquote beasts. That's not my quote. It's the people's quote. That they think should be subdued are now able to be enslaved via prisons. So, and it's a pretty that's a pretty considerable assertion. Like that's a major assertion to make. But then it backs it up, and it backs it up through this 150-year period of history, where you have Congress pushing for more prisons over the years, and then they're redefining this idea of criminality being specifically black in nature. So then the civil rights movement happens in the 50s and 60s. You have a lot of pushback from police who now consider these activists to be terrorists, essentially domestic terrorists, and then the kicker happens, the big kicker, and that is Richard Nixon's presidency. That plays a major part. And so what he introduced was this quote unquote a war on drugs. It wasn't the capitalized war on drugs. I'm going to get to that in a second. That does come up with Reagan's presidency, but what Richard Nixon did was he introduced this big war on drugs, a war on drugs that would pretty much focus on black Americans. Made the image that they were drug dealing criminals who liked crack cocaine, all this stuff. And that was, the rise of kind of the drug scene in the 60s. The darker side of, this kind of free love society of a bunch of white people using drugs at parties is the fact that at parties and Woodstock and all that is the fact that there were also sentences being laid out for the black community. And then Reagan's administration introduced the actual war on drugs. He said, this is a significant thing. We're going to have criminal sentences introduced, and so they're then put into jail for years on these charges of these, like you can have a little bit of specifically during Clinton's administration, you had 3 strikes and you're out, which was, you have 2 drug strikes and then you get a third one, you're in jail for the rest of your life and you don't get out. That's essentially, what he made, and to be tough on crime, and you couldn't not be tough on crime and run for president. That's what this whole sort of a trickle down effect. So you had rampant racist redefinition of the kind of person that the black person was. This image of them as a rapist, a druggie, all of that, especially furthered by really early cinema like The Birth of a Nation, the first one, from D.W. Griffith in 1915, saw them as animals, saw the Ku Klux Klan as heroes. It was this kind of trickle down effect of pushing this image of the black person. So then you get to more modern times, and Clinton's administration furthers militarization of police and more jails and prisons and all this mandatory minimum sentencing, where you had to serve 85% of the sentence. And so what happens is jails become profitable things if you have 3 strikes and you're out, that's a lot of people. That's more people than they thought that they would have when they announced it, technically, because there's a lot of people who have 2 screw-ups or 2, intentional screw-ups. And then on the third one, they're put in prison. So you have these rising numbers of people going to prison, but not enough prisons. So now you have to get people out of those prisons, and then because there's now a money trail, you have to keep the prisons full, and so you have hopped up charges, and it's just and it's just all this content, all this information it's 100 minutes long, and it sounds like it should be a whole TV series, and it's just an incredible array of information, and the assembly of it is key here. I think that it's Ava DuVernay who directed Selma a couple years ago. Great biographical picture about Martin Luther King Jr., a specific time in his life, and now she's followed it up with this. I think it's an even better film, and it's just a total, it's a testament to the documentary form. And it's a really significant one, and it comes up right to modern day. I mean, it talks about the recent spate of police-involved shootings. Philando Castile, Alton Sterling, Mike Brown, Tamir Rice. I mean, it mentions all of them. Lots of name drops, lots of recent video footage. And it makes the point, this is something, I'm going to get into some controversial stuff again here, but I'm the son of a cop and I'm the brother of a cop. So a lot of the claims in the last couple of years about, this systematic injustice, kind of systemic bias, all of this rhetoric it wasn't convincing to me, and I hope that I don't offend anybody by saying that. I hope to offend no one ever, but honestly, it was one of those things where I felt like it was unlikely that such a systemic thing could happen. But I was actually thinking about it in a wrong way, and this movie convinced me that I was doing that. And there is a right way to think about this, and it's sort of said at the beginning, and then the whole movie then makes the point in favor of this. Is that we have to examine our values and the values of the police establishment in America. We have to put them up to a high standard because they are the protectors of society, or they're meant to be. And so when you have this trickle down sort of thing going on where centuries of racism leads to this idea that of black criminality, and the fact that they're second class citizens, and the fact that this hasn't seemed to change really, at the core of it, is something that we need to examine, something that we need to come to terms with, something that we need to understand in order to come to terms with it, and then we need to deal with it. And so this really convinced me, and it's just an amazing document. It doesn't even cover the whole thing. Like I said, it's enough material to cover a television series, and there's a lot more here that she could have covered. But man, I mean, as is, the movie that we have is amazing. The fact that she was able to take all of this, put it into a 100-minute shell, kind of a little, not a shell, but a 100-minute frame, and make sense of it. I mean, it's a non-stop movie. The trailer, if y'all go watch the trailer on YouTube, it's very fast-paced, it's very quick, it's very it moves at such an energy, and the movie moves at that energy for 100 minutes. The exact same energy. I mean, it is incredible how we're able to keep up with this. It sort of reminds me in a weird way of JFK, the Oliver Stone movie, which moves at that energy for 3 hours and never confuses us. This movie never confuses us. It never confuses the issue. It never confounds anything like that. It's a perfectly assembled documentary. Uh, and that's kind of the we could get into editing and all that. That's all of this is part and parcel with the documentary form. You talk about a documentary and then go to comments about how well edited it is. That's what we're talking about here. Is the assembly, the filmmaking, the use of hip hop songs with lyrics that are topical, and all of that. I mean, it's just so perfectly assembled, and I think honestly it's the best movie of the year so far. It's an amazing piece of work, and it's convincing. It's convincing. There are a lot of people that aren't convinced by this, by any of the arguments involving Black Lives Matter, all of that. It's extremely like a touchy subject. In this movie, it's going to be a touchy subject movie. And it's probably not going to convince everybody. There are definitely going to be some people who stick to their guns about their views in this, about Black Lives Matter essentially being a modern day Black Panther movement. It's really not, and they kind of cover why the lack of a horizontal, why the lack of a vertical structure actually helps it. It gives people hope, and I mean it really ties it up at the end in such a way that you can't but to think that it's got to change at some point. This whole thing's got to change. There's got to be some sort of it's got to go beyond tolerance, and that a movie can do that right now. I mean, and without feeling like it's shoving this sermon down your throat. It presents its case. It's a movie of real, like, angry passion, but it's also, like, calm, angry passion. There's no people that are yelling indiscriminately at the camera. There's nothing like that. It's very calm, measured interviews of people all over the place, all over the political sphere. I mean, she doesn't only have, a BuzzFeed reporter, and we know those people are likely liberal. She does, investigative reporters, from BuzzFeed, ones that are freelance. I think Washington Post or Wall Street Journal or somebody, Newt Gingrich is in this. I mean, he talks about it because he was a big instrumental part of with Clinton's administration in bringing the three strikes you're out into the fold, and then later admits that didn't work and all that. I mean, Grover Norquist is in it, one of the most conservative people in the country. All these people. It's an incredible array of information, and it's perfectly assembled. I always think about, make myself sad while doing it, but I always think about what movies Roger Ebert would have loved. Now, if he had been alive, this would have been his number one of the year, and I can say that without the year ending. This would have been his number one. It would have been the movie that defined this year, probably the last several years for him. I mean, he had the same thing with Hoop Dreams back in the 90s. Another movie, another important movie about the black community. This one's just such a wider reach. Speaks to all of the black community in America, and then everybody else too. And it doesn't preach down to everybody else. It doesn't condescend to them. It says, hey, listen to us for a second. We know what we're talking about. And it is just incredible. So there's my review. It's an A+ movie. That's how good this thing is. So that is my review of 13th. Everybody go watch it. It's on Netflix. It's not going anywhere because it's a Netflix original documentary. And it's incredible. I think, honestly, like, this is never going to happen because it has two major strikes against it. One, it's a documentary, and two, it's on Netflix. But it should be considered for Best Picture on the sheer basis of the subject matter. The fact that this movie came out this year, I mean, it's going to be the defining movie of 2016. I can assure you of that. It's going to be the movie that everybody talks about who watches movies and everything. I mean, it is magnificent stuff.
Well, fuck me sideways 10 times more than I don't know. Fuck, like that was. Dan, I mean, you delivered that pretty well, man. So yeah, I will definitely watch it. And I think you should too, because that review right there was convincing enough. So thank you for that, Joel. So that is Joel's review of 13th, A+ from him. So we're looking at a C from Joel for Birth of a Nation. We're looking at a B for me on that, and an A+ for 13th on Joel. But what about the most controversial movie of the weekend? You know that Girl on the Train movie. And, screw Birth of a Nation and facts and history. We're going to talk about a girl with alcoholism. So, when the trailers came out, I was looking forward to it. I think it had a really interesting type of, those murder mystery thriller vibe, dealer majigs. Like it. Yes. Am I going to make a comparison? Sure. It looks like fucking Gone Girl, and it tries too hard to do it. And you know what? I think that is one of the downfalls of the movie, because it tries too damn hard to be that. But I'm gonna have Joel.
It should be trying to be The Gift. I didn't see it, but it should be trying to be The Gift, because I didn't even like Gone Girl. So it's like,
The Gift is really, really good, by the way. That is a Class A thriller right there. So I'm gonna have Joel interview me on this one. So Joel, take your pickings. What questions would you like to ask?
Is it as completely uninteresting and entirely generic as it looks from the trailer?
Yes.
Oh.
I can tell you right now, it is pretty much a bad Lifetime movie. And listen, I was looking forward to the movie. I thought the trailers looked interesting. I thought it could have, some little M. Night Shyamalan twist that we won't see coming. But of course, we see the twist coming from a mile away in the very beginning. But overall, it's a soap opera. It's like a really terrible drama with some, I guess, murder mystery elements in there. By that point, it takes like an hour to even get into that. So it takes fucking forever, but overall, it's just a really bad Lifetime movie.
Well, there you go.
That's it? That's all you wanted to ask?
I honestly, I mean, what did you think of the rest of it? I honestly had no interest in this movie. As soon as I found a reason to axe it from my schedule this weekend, I took it. I was going to see a movie called Denial. I ended up not, but I mean, I spent my time watching 13th, and I saw Birth of a Nation because there was a lot of hype, and I mean, I'm trying to,
Well, I mean, that obviously sounds to me that you really want to see it. So let me try to convince you. So, if you want to, start from the top and we'll go to the bottom, the writing and directing of this film is probably the biggest flaw about the film. The writing in general is very generic. So bland. The characters are extremely unlikable. I'm talking literal shrill shrew housewife, dudes that fuck everything, abusive relationships, an alcoholic person that rides the train for, because she's bored, and a slut. She literally refers to herself as a slut in the film. So you're dealing with those characters. That is your core group. Who the fuck you gonna like in this bitch? Like, as soon as it started out and everyone was describing each other, I was like, oh boy, I'm really gonna get behind this person. So the writing in general is the worst thing about it. Some of the dialogue is horrendously bad. And there were some women next to me cackling throughout the entire time because it was something as if SNL would produce. It was that bad. The characters, very, very unlikable. The twist, saw the mile coming, and when it happened, the movie's it boats itself as, like, oh my god, look at me, I'm so smart, did you see that twist coming? It's like, yes, movie, I fucking saw that coming, now sit down, you're drunk, go home. Literally, because your main character's drunk. So, that's pretty much it with the writing. There's really nothing more to say about that. The directing. Tate Taylor. Listen, I'm glad that you have a hard-on for Gone Girl. I do as well. Joel is more of like a flaccid state because he doesn't really like it.
I am one of the few who do not like that movie.
So Joel's like extremely flaccid. So, listen, I like Gone Girl as much as the next person, excluding Joel, and maybe a trash can. But I'm kidding. I I think he watched that movie too much. And I think he tried to pull way too many influences from that film into this one, and it just didn't work. And I hear that the book is good. It's fine for a novel. Sometimes things work as a novel, they do not work in other mediums like a film. And I think this might have been one of those cases. I think Tate Taylor stretched it out so fucking thin. Like, it is a very thin story, and the movie is 2 hours long. The real plot of it doesn't even kick in until an hour, and at that point, you don't even give a shit because everyone else is an asshole on screen. And it just tries so hard to be so serious and so awesome with its drama, and it's like, no, you're not. Like, please, go watch something else and learn from it. Like, it was like something that would pop up on Tuesday afternoon on Lifetime Network when you have nothing to do, and you got to take a break from your arts and crafts / and/or puzzles. So I think the directing overall is very bland. There's really nothing exciting. He tries to make it more serious than it actually is. However, going into the acting, everyone is saying this. I totally agree. Emily Blunt is the best thing about this, and she is in the wrong movie because she is actually trying very hard, as well as Allison Janney. Everyone else, it's whatever. Listen, Emily Blunt's character is not likable. She drinks a lot, she's very clumsy, and she kind of, makes up stuff on the spot. Now, towards the end, you do feel a little sympathy for her, but she's still an alcoholic. That still does not excuse it. I do like the fact that they played with alcoholism and abusive relationships and stuff, because there were interesting themes played along with this film in terms of obsession, alcoholism, pregnancy, infidelity, stalking, and all that stuff. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and like abuse and stuff, that I found interesting. It's just that these actors, characters, and dialogue were so generic, it just didn't make the movie interesting at all. But Emily Blunt's performance did make it interesting. I love the fact that she was kind of an unhinged character that was drinking all the time. You couldn't really trust her. It's like, she's a drunk and stuff. I'm not going to take her seriously. But as the movie progresses, you realize you're on her side more. But she's still kind of lunatic, and whatnot. So I thought she did very good. Haley Bennett, the discount dollar store version of Jennifer Lawrence. Listen, I thought she was really a lot better in Magnificent Seven, but this one, it's just, she says it within the first 5 minutes, I'm a whore. Okay, so I have no reason to like you. And she makes some of the stupidest decisions as a parent, or just as a person in general, and her character. I'm not saying the actress is this way, it's just her character, but god damn, she makes some idiotic decisions that you're like, oh my god, what the hell were you doing? So I didn't really care for her or her performance. Luke Evans was okay. Rebecca Ferguson, one note, very uptight, shrill housewife that I didn't give two flying shits about. I liked her more in Rogue.
That sounds really disappointing, especially after Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, her talents are completely fucking wasted in this film. Her character is nothing. She's like, I'm complaining. Blah. So I was like, cool, thanks. Moving on. So, Justin Theroux, also known as Jennifer Aniston's husband, he does fine, I guess. He's like, I guess, the second best next to Emily Blunt. I've always enjoyed him whenever he pops up, especially in everything David Lynch does. But yeah, acting all around is whatever. Allison Janney was actually really convincing. I liked her. She was the detective on the case. And also, I was really surprised that Laura Papon from That 70s Show was in this. I was like, damn, after Orange is the New Black, she's like popping up in everywhere now. So that was surprising. But Emily Blunt is definitely the best thing about it. She is definitely trying way harder than everyone else. So Emily Blunt, I commend you for giving 110%. And I disapprove of everyone giving 20%. So moving on to the cinematography once again. I told myself I wasn't going to do it, but you know what, fucking Tate Taylor? If you want to bring that goddamn movie up and you want to try to make yours like that, then I'm going to bring it up and compare it. So Gone Girl, the reason why it works so well is, yes, is it like a Lifetime movie? It sure is. But when in my review, I specifically said it's like a really like upscale Lifetime movie. This is a very low scale, very $5 wine you would get at a Walmart or gas station type of bar that we're setting here, folks. The cinematography in Gone Girl is beautiful. It is haunting. It adds that kind of mysterious, ominous atmosphere. This cinematography in The Girl on the Train is uninspired and bland, and it's trying so hard to be so serious and adult, and it's like, we get it. People are fucking around and people are assholes. We get it. It's hard to make family drama like that interesting, and you do not do that. At least with Gone Girl, it made every single shot interesting, whether it be the lighting, color correction, or shot composition. This did not do that. As far as editing, oh dear Lord, please someone just end my life. Because within the first 10 minutes, I swear, I sat there going, okay, I just want to see how this movie ends. But once the actual plot kicked in an hour in, I was so out of it mentally, I was like, oh my God, please just end. The movie's 2 hours long, but it feels like a fucking half-a-day marathon. And it's like, what are you doing? This fucking story should have been whittled down by 30 minutes, and you probably would have made it more, I guess, impactful in terms of, like, a suspenseful punch, if you will. So, guys, overall, this is not a good movie. I was contemplating on whether going the high road with the grade or the low road with the grade, but I think I'm going to go more of the low road. I have no desire to see this movie ever again. It's got a terrible twist. It's like erotica. That's what it basically is. It's just, it's like 50 Shades of Grey in that respect, and I don't want to bring that movie up, but when 50 Shades Darker Dildo plays in front of it, it's kind of hard to not compare it. So for me personally, guys, don't care for it. Very bland, uninspired, a drama, suspense. Emily Blunt is great. There's some interesting ideas that aren't really explored to the point where I thought it would have been more compelling. So, guys, I think I'm going to go the low road on this. I'm going to give The Girl on the Train a D+. No thank you. I'm done. And you guys have to keep in mind, I saw both these back-to-back. I saw this first, then I saw Birth of a Nation. That's how I ended my day. So Birth of a Nation was like the fucking Godfather Part 2 times Part 1 better than whatever the hell I just saw. So that's why I'm going so low with it, because the movie I saw after that was so damn good that The Girl on the Train is fucking forgettable as soon as you walk out. So that is my review of The Girl on the Train. God rest anyone's soul that actually watches it. So
I had a situation like that a few years ago where the movie 42, which was the Jackie Robinson biopic, I saw that right after. I'm sorry, after. It was even worse of a situation. Right after Trance, the Danny Boyle movie, where it was this big, like, mind-blowing thing, and then I went and saw this really bland by-the-numbers biopic, and I just forgot about it all, And I hate when I do that to myself. In hindsight, at least. Obviously, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, listen.
In some random world that you could have, given any other another situation, it could have been reversed where you came out of The Girl on the Train really satisfied, and then saw The Birth of a Nation, and it wasn't very good. I mean, couldn't have known.
I don't go into every single movie I hope it's bad. I wanted it to be a decent little suspenseful thriller. That's what I wanted, but it just failed on every single category and just was so bland. There was nothing to it. There was nothing interesting that was tried. There was nothing new that was tested. It was just so generic, and I was like, God damn, what the hell? Especially when you go from this to Birth of a Nation, guys. It's such a stronger transition when you see Birth of a Nation go, oh my God, what a great movie. What was that movie I saw earlier this morning? I have no fucking clue. So, yeah, guys, that's my review of that. So, if I were to give you a pick, obviously I'm going to go Birth of a Nation. Joel's going to go 13th. And, hey, if you want to catch up on some movies, go see Deepwater Horizon. That is an excellent film, and I would choose that over The Girl on the Train any day of the week, anytime. So, so that will do it for this week's episode, guys, and let me know what you thought of The Girl on the Train down below. No box office results for this week because I couldn't wait for this episode. I told Joel, I was like, we're doing this Saturday because it's going to be a long episode, and I don't want to bore people with box office for 10
I,
minutes after our hardcore discussion. So
I will say, like, we won't get into it, but man, Birth of a Nation is not doing well. Just I didn't really look real deeply, but the initial numbers are not good, and I'm not very surprised by it all. But yeah, I mean, not good.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's been it's been a lot of fun to come back on. I think I'll be back next month. We're going to be doing Fantastic Beasts, reviewing that, and then counting down our least favorite movies of the year, which is going to be fun. I'm going to try to catch up with some on Netflix, depending on the selection there, and see if there's anything that might qualify. I might not also, because I'm pretty happy with my list. It's kind of already made. I haven't seen anything that qualifies in like 3 months, but yeah, I mean it's going to be a really really fun episode, and for two reasons. One, we get to hate on some movies, even though I don't like hating movies. It's fun to talk about movies that I hate. And we get to talk about Harry Potter related things, and I can nerd out and be a complete dork. And you will sit on the sidelines being like, why did I let him on here? There you go.
Yeah, basically what Joel is saying is that he'll be the host that week and I'll just take a back seat, which is probably true because he knows way more Harry Potter knowledge than I do, even though I'm a huge fan of it. But yeah, that'll be a lot of fun because that'll be the first time in this podcast history to do a top 5, top 10 worst list instead of a best list. It'll be a nice little kind of diversity or whatever. Joel pitched the idea. I liked it, so that's what we're going to go with. So it'll be really great to see Joel back next month. So, but in the meantime, Joel, where can the people find you online?
You can find me at Twitter at Copling_Joel, and also my website, Joel on Film. Although, actually, I might as well make this an announcement. I was going to make it to you offline, but I might as well say this. It's going to be going through a major renovation pretty soon. My brother is in the process of kind of rebuilding the site, especially for mobile users, because right now my site is like unusable on the phone. Go on the computer right now. And also I've recently had this big life change where my time is taken up doing a certain activity that's taking a lot of my week, and then I also have work on top of that, and a bunch of personal commitments, family things that come up at the last minute, especially this year. And so my site's going to be going through a major renovation, like conceptually. I'm about to sign up for this website Filmstruck that's coming out on October 19th, where there's a bunch of like hidden gems. And so kind of announcing here, and I'm going to announce it on Twitter closer to it, that I'm going to be turning my site into a review anything that I see, because right now what the situation is that I haven't even posted a review since Sully, I think, and like I never even finished the reviews of my written reviews of Snowden and Blair Witch, which we talked about on the show. I just never got them finished, and so and it's because of the fact that I just don't really have time, and I can't really make time because there's this very important thing that I've been doing with my life these past couple of months, and so instead of trying to schedule like strictly a review schedule, I'm going to review big movies still, but instead of like an actual strict review schedule, I'm just going to review short like mini reviews of the movies that I see on Filmstruck, and that's going to be a lot of fun to write about older movies for the first time on my website, that isn't just like a look back section that was a feature on my site. I'm really excited to kind of get into that, expanding my film viewing a little bit in an affordable streaming site that will offer a lot of great movies. And so that's where you can find me. Expect that to kind of change in November or so, once the new site's been kind of renovated. I'm pausing for now, but I think I'll be back in November, and so yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But that's where you can find me, and yeah.
Yeah, and all of his links will be in the description below. If you want to follow me on Twitter, guys, it's @RealChaseLee. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow me on this podcast. Spread this around and tell people that this isn't the worst thing on the internet because Mr. Trump took that honor this week. So, hey, listen, if you made it through this entire podcast and you are not a movie fan, well, hopefully Joel and I convinced you to be one. Episode 151, guys, next week will be over the accountant, and I will have that episode on Thursday night. It will be extremely early, but that's because my girlfriend's coming into town. You know, we're doing long distance, so whenever she comes into town, I'm gonna not do YouTube that weekend. So, you know, I gotta do everything early, so you guys will get it way ahead of time, and that will be a lot of fun. So that will be next week's episode. And then the following 2 episodes will be I believe after the accountant is horror comedies, and after that is the movies you should watch around Halloween, because I want to watch nothing in the theaters that are coming out, so I figured I'd just do some retro episodes and throw something different at you guys. So, yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy this very long episode.
Yeah. And then the big winter stuff will come out, and that'll be a lot of fun, you know. After,
yeah, for sure. Yeah, as soon as we get over this weird October hump where there's like nothing out besides this weekend and next weekend, it's like I'll feel a lot better. But yeah, no, this is one of the longest episodes to date. But thank you, Joel, for coming on. Follow him on all his stuff. Follow me on all my stuff. You guys are fucking awesome. Keep it chill. Keep it badass. And the intro and outro music is done by my friend's band, Fervent Roze. Check them out as well. I will see you guys next week for episode 151. We're 5 episodes closer to that 3-year mark. Peace out, everyone.